Hey, this is Ed, and we'll see you on the Tampa Morgue after this song.
My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks.
In a row?
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue, episode number 37. And as always, I am joined by my fellow mortician, Mr. Don't Ever Call Me Edwin, the always angry Ed Webb. What's up, dude?
Mr. Anderson, what's up, brother?
You like the little intro?
Good way to start that shit, you fucker.
Exactly. How are things over there in sunny Florida?
Warming up a little bit. Rainy. Today is actually a little cool. I don't care. It's Florida. You get what you get.
We have a crazy fucking week, man. It was like, we had my daughter's birthday party on Saturday. It's been like 70 and 80 this weekend. We like barbecued outside. It's probably been like 70s realistic. And then the next day, 2 days later, I got like some snow coming down. Yeah, it's fucking a head game.
It's weird. I saw that Jet, Jet, she does the Metal Messiah. I saw she posted something, I think it was her, that up in New Hampshire fucking just getting obliterated with snow. And I'm thinking, Bro, it's fucking April. I guess it just, it is where it depends on where you live.
I think like Pennsylvania. I don't know. One of my friends was saying they're getting shitloads of rain.
Hmm.
So I mean, I guess some places are getting pounded with that. It's just been, the weather's always crazy for us. Like today, actually, right now, as you can see, Ed can see because no one else can see. It's actually kind of sunny in here in the studio
Yeah.
because I have the door open and the windows because it's actually like it went from being cold this morning, probably like I think it was like 1 Celsius, and now it's kind of nice out later in the evening. So this is how
It's
we all get
crazy.
sick. That we just fucking found out that my daughter, one of her classmates, my 3-year-old, has chicken pox. Yeah. So I had it when I was a kid. My wife had it. My other daughter had it. But
Yep, I
now
had
we're
it.
pretty sure that it's coming to the Anderson house.
And let me tell you, man, they're young, so they're gonna fucking hate. I remember, oh my goodness gracious, my mom said, "I wish you would have got it when you were, I got it when I was older, so it wasn't as bad. The old oatmeal baths and
Oh yeah.
all the bullshit you had to go through.
We had to put gloves on my first daughter and like make sure she couldn't scratch and stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
so I'm pretty sure my other one, it's coming. We're hoping not, but we got the word today from the school, and usually chicken pox is pretty contagious, as we know. Thing about it is, though, she's only 3, so it kind of, in a way, it's a good time to get it over with.
right. And the fact that you both had it makes it non-effective for you.
Yeah,
Plus, we were vaccinated for that crap.
yeah.
Back in the
Three,
day, anyway.
3 out of 4 of us had it, but
Yeah.
yeah. So that's what's going on over here. It is Friday. Well, I don't know. Most people are probably listening to this on Saturday, so I'm probably Friday night. As always, we thank everyone for listening. Episode 37, and you heard that Clerks reference, huh?
Yeah, man. Best movie out. Fucking, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a Jersey thing." Yeah, well, it is a Jersey thing, and I can tell you from history that's exactly what Jersey was like. I mean, 100%.
I mean,
Stickball hockey, fucking, not on the roof, of course, but that was the thing. Everybody was like, it was like kind of like playing baseball in the summer, right? You fucking come on, man. We got to figure it out. Got to do it, man. We got a game today, dude. I mean, that whole everything, even working at the store. I mean, it was just like Jay is a typical fucking New Jersey douchebag. Typical, but I love him.
well, what's funny is that store. Kevin Smith actually worked at that store, the video store and the actual
Hmm.
store, I guess. One thing I liked about that movie is whoever knows me personally, I'm a huge. Unfortunately, this year has been a rough one, but I'm a huge Devils fan.
Hmm.
I fucking hate the Rangers, all that stuff that all us Devil fans feel. And this year, it's been a rough one. But in that movie, that's one thing about Kevin Smith is he always repped the Devils. He
Yep.
always had that whole New Jersey Devil rep thing going on. And
Yep.
that movie though is pretty amazing because so that was shot for $27,000. And that's insane. And it grossed 4 million in the theaters, which we were actually talking about earlier, Ed. Um, so just some things in that movie that really like
And
the
it was
Asbury
black and
Park
white.
press, black and white, shot
You
on
know.
like store cameras.
Yep. I mean, it was, and everybody knew. Well, at least again, Jersey reference. Everybody. Wow, when I said Jersey, I got that fucking accent.
Came out naturally.
It came out. Everybody knew somebody like Randall. You know what I mean? Not so much
Yes.
Dante, because Dante was kind of the pussy whiner, but everybody knew a Randall, just a smart ass fucking huckster. And yeah, I remember when I first watched it, I was like, man, this is like watching sitting in the bleacher somewhere and just watching normal everyday Jersey life. It was great, man.
Yeah, it's if you think about, there's so many little things. Like I haven't been to Jersey. Well, I don't know. The last time I was in Jersey was for actually some hockey games, some Devils games a couple years ago. But like, there's the Asbury Park press you see
Hmm.
in that movie, which, like I said, I haven't been there in a while. I'm sure that newspaper's still around. I don't even know anything about newspapers anymore because it seems like they're pretty much a thing of the past in a lot of ways. And I know they still put them out, but I figure with the internet now, I don't know how many people are actually reading them. But you had that. You had that was that was produced by Smith and Mosier, Scott Mosier, who are both involved in the movie. I think Scott was actually in the movie also. But in 1994, which is crazy to think it's that old,
Yep.
and I used to go see all those movies. Like you said, it is a Jersey thing, probably. Like I remember seeing Chasing Amy, I think at the Dover Theater. Um,
And
just a lot of
think of some of the people that were in those movies, and some of them, like in his
got
movies, Mallrats,
huge.
all that, they all got big. You know,
Affleck and Damon.
yep. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like look at the other movie that when I think of Clerks, I think of like an old movie like Dazed and Confused. And if you look at
yeah.
that movie with fucking Ben Affleck and all those dudes wound up becoming um, big actors, a lot of them.
I watched Days of Confused on acid when I was living over in Sarasota when I was much younger, and I never. It was just a very. I never saw it the same again. I do like that movie a lot, though. That was movies were different back then. It felt like, and the thing with the Kevin Smith movies was, you had Mallrats, Clerks, Clerks 2.
Two.
Now I have not seen Clerks 3, but I've heard about it, and I'm not gonna. Whoever hasn't seen it, I don't want to spoil it on them. But it's totally different than the first one. It has like some crazy ending,
I have
and
not seen it
actually.
either.
Clerks 1, they were supposed to kill Dante in it. It was actually the ending of the movie where he was supposed to get robbed and shot, but I guess they cut it out of there. So, but yeah, we're all Jersey peeps. Like you said, you're actually from Cliffwood Beach, and I'm from Tom's River.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I don't even think, and actually Cliffwood Beach no longer exists. They call it Keyport now.
See how things change.
Which is crazy how it is, because it was Cliffwood Beach because like literally if you went down maybe a quarter of a mile, not even, like we used to ride bikes everywhere, but you went down there was the beach and you could see the Verrazano Bridge to New York across the fucking the water. So like it was Cliffwood Beach. Keyport was just boats and a bunch of fucking stores. That's all really Keyport was, but now that's what they're calling it. And I'm like, whatever. When
I didn't even know they changed the name of it.
Yeah, I did a Google search and saw that, and I was like, and I saw how much my old house is worth, and I was like, wow. I mean,
damn.
No property. It was just fucking shit. I mean, I just look back and I go, man, my parents rebuilt this whole house, sold it for a ton, and now I look and I go, man, what would my life have been like had I stayed up in this hell?
Well, they changed the name. Maybe someone found it offensive. But we actually
Cliff
yeah.
Wood. Somebody
And I'm
named
from
Cliff.
someone named Cliff found it offensive. Someone Cliff Wood, get it? We actually opened up the show with a band called Oblivion out of Toms River, New Jersey, which is where I'm from. I went to high school there. But that was off the 1985 demo, and that song was titled "Rabid, Bestial." And they were a Toms River band. Trying to think, as they had Dave Gutierrez in there, who I think Lethal Aggression he wound up in. He did the Volks on that. I think he was only with them for like 2 demos. You had Mike Sicca, which I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, play guitar. He was also in Fallacy out of Toms River. You have drummer Santo, who left in '87 and was replaced by a guy named Joe Farley, who passed away eventually. But I think he was only on 2 demos also. And Rich Vallow on bass, but that was Oblivion from Toms River, New Jersey. And they actually put out 7 demos. Mostly they were a demo band. They were around from 85 to 90, 3 compilations. So Toms River, I lived there. I actually lived in Seaside Heights, which Ed, so I don't know, you were familiar with Seaside Heights too. I mean, I grew up there. That was my first job on the boardwalk over there, working at where they toss balloons at the fucking, you toss darts at the balloons and you basically get ripped off. But the Sawmill, man, and I worked at there, which was a pizza place over on the boardwalk. But Seaside Heights was a different place. I did go back there right before Sandy hit. And, back in the 80s and 90s, as you probably remember, you had all the casinos. You had Lucky Leo's, Coin Castle. You had the Casino Pier. We've talked about it on this show. I used to win a lot of my tapes and albums from that Union Jacks. Remember, you put like a quarter on the wheel.
Yep.
And I won a shitload of stuff through that.
Yeah, I saw. I was there when they were filming the Bon. I told you that the Bon Jovi video for "In and Out of Love." Was it "In and Out of Love"?
Yeah, we were living down there at that time. That was a big deal.
Literally, too. I'm walking up, and then we get kind of not grabbed, but kind of like, hey, can't go right there. It was, and there was the fucking little canoe, whatever you want to call it, the little boat on the.
They still have those boats there, by the way.
Yeah, and they were in the boat shooting the video. They were right. I mean, I was like, oh shit, and they're like, oh, this is Bon Jovi, and I'm like, what the fuck is a Bon Jovi? Because they were nobody. They were nobody back
Yeah,
then. That was a
they were.
seven,
Remember when
eight
you were a
hundred
kid though? They got huge though. I mean, it's crazy.
7,800 degrees Fahrenheit, and then boom, But yeah, I saw them. We watched for like an hour of them recording, and I was like, "This is how you do. This is how you do a video for TV for music," because that was still new too. Remember, MTV was just kind of new, and then my cousin, who was, she lived in Freehold. She was a freak. She was in the Ramones and Crew, and all that shit. And she was a new wave chick too, and
Remember that
she was
period
like,
of
"Oh my
time?
God, you saw Bon Jovi?" She freaked out, and I was like, "Whatever." I probably would still be. I mean, it would be cool to meet John Bon Jovi, sure, to say, "Hey," whatever. I know my wife liked him. She grew up like in White
Yeah,
Lion and
my
all that
mom was a
shit.
fan. I was not. My mom was, but
Nah.
I guess he does. My mom's always telling me still that he does a bunch of shit for a bunch of people that are like in need. So,
Oh yeah, he
so
feeds
that
people for like free in his restaurant. Like people come in and just take food and leave.
yeah,
Like
you
he
can't hate
doesn't.
him for that at all, man. I mean,
No, man.
that's
No, his voice is shot. But I feel but who isn't? I'll tell you who
exactly.
isn't. I'll tell you who isn't. And I hate to get off subject, but it just I resubscribed to Sirius for my truck. Um, just because sometimes I just don't like having to fiddle fuck with shit, trying to find music. And I like the hair I like Hair Nation. You hear some old school Rat and fucking shit I grew up on. I call me a pussy. I like
I
old
think
Rat.
that
I
and
like,
Ozzy's Boneyard plays a lot of that,
yep,
like
yep.
old the '80s stuff on there.
But fucking they always play almost it's like radio, dude. There's so many fucking hair bands, and it's like sometimes they play the same shit. But remember Steelheart?
I
Fucking
do remember that. Yes,
that dude's voice, he had the highest fucking scream ever, right? Like I'm like, God damn, this dude can wail.
was that Steelheart or was that Saigon? Am I
No, it was
thinking of a
Steelheart.
different band? Okay.
No, it was Steelheart. So fast forward to last week, I'm scrolling, and it's weird because you know, Facebook knows everybody, they know when you're looking at shit. And it pulled up a video of Steelheart like from a couple years ago. So me, I'm like, this dude can't. The fucking dude can still hit the notes perfectly, dude. I was like, are you fucking kidding? Because how many bands do you know that the guy still, like even Bach can't hit his fucking notes? He can't.
Yeah.
Um,
And they admit it too. Like, I mean, a lot of those guys admit it. So there was someone else that was I was really like you look at Halford's vocals on that new Judas Priest record. It's pretty fucking awesome. Like, I wonder if that. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, that's a hell of an album and a hell of a performance by him, man. He's another one that
What
still.
I want to see him do that live. I want to see
Yeah,
if he hits
because
those live, then I'll be like, fuck yeah. I'm not taking anything away from him, but Studio Magic, dude, I'll be the first to tell you. I'm sure when this new monstrosity comes out, I'm going to go, holy shit, that's not. I didn't do that. You know what I mean? I mean, who knows? I'm not mixing it. I'm not mastering it. I don't know nothing about nothing, but as well as I do. Studio Magic is a thing.
oh
But
yeah,
but this dude, playing on some fucking stage, who knows, probably getting paid $50. Dude looks nothing like he did. Hair short, shirt wide open with his fucking chest. And he hit that fucking those notes. And I was just like, I had to call Bryson. I'm like, dude, listen to this and listen to this. And he goes, dude, sounds pretty close. I'm like, and the dude's in his fucking late 50s. I'm
yeah.
like,
That's
I mean, it just shows you like, even what's his name doesn't hit those notes. Jeff Tate, some of them he can't hit no more.
last
When
time I saw Dio, man, he still sounded great too. When I
yeah,
saw him at
no,
Janus,
that
he was
dude
still amazing.
probably would have sounded like that today if they played live.
Yeah, no, you mentioned like the whole we talk about the '80s thing or those bands. That whole. So I don't know how often. How often did you go down to Seaside? Were you like a common guy? Were you?
It was we went it was like maybe once a year towards as we got older. We didn't go when we were super young, but I remember going there quite a few times. Stay the night, go, and then go down the fucking Garden Turnpike.
So we lived down there because they put the. So back when I was a child, we were not we didn't have the most cashola.
Nope.
And back then, it's basically like they would put, they'd put you in the winter time. They would move the poorer people into Seaside, and then you would stay there during the winter, which was pretty brutal in Seaside in the winter. It's just cold and just windy and
Coming
snowy,
off
rain,
that
all that
water
shit
was
coming off
brutal.
that water. So we were obviously pretty poor little family, so we lived down there. But the summers was great, and there was just so many things about that place that was, I mean, I was never a saltwater taffy guy, or remember there was Big Pecker's beach
Mm-hmm.
shop down there. But I mean, just in that
Pizza.
area, yeah, pizza was great. I
Pizza.
worked at the Sawmill. We had pretty decent pizza there. There were some other good places like there was, I think, Three Brothers. I think something was called. There was another one called. But the thing about Seaside is it was alive back then. I mean, it had the haunted houses. Do you remember there was in Seaside they had the Doorway to Hell, which was like 80s. And they dismantled that after. You remember the Great Adventure when the haunted house caught on fire
Yep.
and
Yeah.
killed like 8 teens, which was like Jackson Township Great Adventure, right?
Yep.
But they took that down in Seaside, that the Doorway to Hell. I think right after that happened. But we had that. We had the Haunted Manor ride, which was like I think it became Hollow Graves Haunted Manor, and then there was the Stillwalk Manor, which was destroyed by Sandy in 2012. I never forget they had this gigantic devil head that like when you were going out of there. But it was just, a lot of, and it was music shops. You probably remember too. They had the Wild Side, which was in Jersey, which was in Brick off. I think it was like Route 88. They had that store, which was like, heavy metal clothes or whatever, bootleg videos.
The early
I
Hot
remember.
Topic.
Yeah, the early Hot Topic. Basically, they had what is there? There was a Rock and Roll Express, the Ride, the Himalaya, which
God.
I could still picture that. Yeah, they had the Himalaya there. And there was other store. They had a store on Seaside Boardwalk when I was a kid. I remember it was like Rockstar Headquarters or something cheesy like that. It was called. It was all like music memorabilia and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the crew back then, and like a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I think it was a great place to live in Seaside. I haven't been back there in a long time.
It was kind of
Like,
like an Atlantic City Junior, really.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, not as boisterous as Atlantic City with the multitude of casinos, but if you lived in the South, that was kind of like your Atlantic City, kind of, sort of.
Well, and then people have this image of it, as you know, like when that show came out, that Jersey Shore, which totally was ridiculous.
Oh my God.
People thought that's what it was like, and that was just people that would come down. Like that was the summer clients. Like you would have
Right.
shitloads. Like we had, I don't even know. We had names for them. There was a nickname which I don't even know if it's offensive or not. Remember they used to call them Bennies back then. Like I don't know what the rules are now, but that was that whole thing. I mean, and it was a whole different time in the '80s in Jersey. Like in '90s, you like early '80s, you had like you had shit going on everywhere. You had that Old Bridge Metal Militia, which was like what you had Lemore's Club 516 and Old Bridge. You had Sunshine Inn in Asbury Park. You had a lot of that stuff. You had Johnny Z, obviously, and Marcia, who we all know they had the flea market and Rock and Roll Heaven, and obviously
People
the whole.
don't realize how much New Jersey influenced a lot of that New York, Pennsylvania, northern, even probably down to Baltimore style of music. You know what I mean? Because it was Jersey was kind of central. What do they used to call it? The armpit of America. But yet, it was a place where a lot of killer bands came out of there, man.
A lot of our guests here have talked about New Jersey because
Yep.
Raven was staying there. Because like we were talking about Johnny Z. He really had a big part in a lot of stuff there, and obviously Johnny Z passed away in 2022, and I think Marcia was like the year prior to that. But he did have the book Heavy Tales, which is still out. I have a copy of it, and it's really good. It's about a lot of that time period. The Stone Pony, and Metallica. I mean, look at them. They came down there, and they actually gave the name to the Old Bridge Metal Militia. I think it was a credit inside the Kill 'Em All record, where they were thanking them. And then a club that I used to go to, which we've talked about a couple times on this show, which I actually was looking at this last night because I was watching some footage from there. A place that I'll never forget, a place called City Gardens, 1701 Calhoun Street in Trenton. It was a different kind of place. I remember they had the sign, the no slam dancing, no stage diving, no spikes going on there. They, it was, I was looking at some of the flyers from there that I had, it's just crazy, dude. Listen to some of these prices. Okay. This will give you an idea of how different it was. And this place, so whoever has been to the City Gardens knows it was a rough place. Like it was a violent ass place, but there was great shows for cheap prices there for the most part. And a lot of people played there. A lot of the bigger bands played there. So you had, check out these prices here. Okay. So Venom and Black Flag, 1986, $13. That was a notorious show too, because there was a lot of shit supposedly going on in that show. Circle Jerks Meat Puppets, $10, 1986. These are all awful flyers. DRI, Nasty Savage, Sick of It All, Ripping Corpse, $14, 1988.
Wow.
GBH, Accused, Social Decay, Lethal Aggression, $10, 87. DOA, MDC, a band you really dig too, Ed.
Yep.
COC, No Means No, $10, 86. Ramones and the Shades, $10, 86. Discharge, DRI, and the Dayglow Abortions, which is a name you don't hear of very often anymore, $10, 1986. 1991, Morbid Angel, Entombed, Unleashed, the American Sickness Tour in 91,
Wow.
$10. Bad Brains played there, Cro-Mags, Lunatics, a band that I love, the Butthole Surfers. I mean, they played there. Mucky Pup, Mudhoney, Guar, Nirvana played there for $7 in 91. Whether you like them or not, that's crazy. $7 in 91.
Yep.
Um, it was just a place that it was just something about it, and I believe they finally tore it down now. Though one of the last shows I remember before I moved out to Florida, I know I saw in '93. I was there. I saw Biohazard, Sick of It All, and Sheer Terror, which was a crazy
Great
show.
show.
Yeah, and that was before that was in Biohazard. I want to say they just released the Urban Discipline record. It was just I believe that was the year that just put it out. That was a crazy show, but that was a place that it was one of the all ages places a lot of times, and I don't know. It was just a John Stewart worked there. I don't know if you know that, but John Stewart
I remember.
he was the
Bartender. Or
bartender
no.
there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was the bartender there, which I mean is that's John Stewart. And if you look at the place was always full with skinheads. There was some guy who beat some lady's head with a pool stick one night, broke her hands, and just he escaped from a psycho ward or some shit like that. It was just a place of crazy, but it was actually owned by Frank Nailbone, I believe his name was. Like we said, John Stewart worked there. There was a guy who used to actually book Randy Ellis, who booked all the shit there. I think he was also a tour manager at one time. I know he was a U.S. Postal guy on the side, but he was a big part of that venue. Yeah, and I don't know. City Gardens to me is one of the places I definitely will always remember, and it was crazy there. And you also had, like we said, you had those stores like, you had what was it? What is it? I'm trying to think of the place in New York City that was. It was in, God damn it, man! It was in St. Mark's Place. Uh, Trash and Vandeville, I think it was called. I know that guy that used to work there, Jimmy Webb, just passed away like a couple years ago, and he was actually there the last time I was there because me and my ex-wife went there a few years ago. Well, probably about 10 years ago now or 12 years ago. Um, that was another, like we said, the Wild Side. There's Rainbow Rockatorium, I think one place was called over on Brick Boulevard. I don't know, just, it's weird when I look back at Jersey now. When I went back, they always say when you go back, it's never the same. And it really wasn't the same when I went back. But it was just a cool time to grow up there.
Absolutely. The history is again, always, I always get asked the question, if you could, be 20 in your 20s now, knowing what about music and everything else, like everything we know now, but we're back to being 20. I'm like, no fucking way, man. I got to see shit nobody will see, got to experience things that nobody will ever experience.
What was your first show, Ed? Do you remember your first show that you went to, actually?
Probably, I think my first show might have been at the Brendan Byrne Arena. I went and saw Ozzy and Metallica with Cliff Burton. And I think it was the Brendan Byrne Arena. But I went with some friends. My parents were not happy. But I got to see Cliff Burton. So there's that. And, because we didn't have a music, like I was too young still for there to be the music scene, like the Ripping Corpses and stuff. We moved in October of, I always say 84, but I think it was 85. We moved here. And there was nothing really, there wasn't anything early. I mean, there might've been like up in New York, like Whiplash or stuff like that, starting all those bands that were just starting out. Because if you think about it, even Metallica had literally just put out Ride the Lightning. So that was kind of like, where they were. and I was just learning about fucking Melissa, Merciful Fate, and Don't Break the Oath. So it was like Venom, black metal. So that was the time, where those bands were, people were getting their influences from those bands and starting bands. So I think I moved because you moved later, way later than I did.
96. Yeah, right
Yeah,
after the
so
Devils won their first cup.
11 years later. So big difference. I didn't get to experience the clubs up in New Jersey like you did. But down here I did because, we had the Sunset Club and we had Vinyl Fever, which was right next to the
I was
Sunset
just
Club.
talking to somebody about Vinyl Fever actually
Yeah, man.
the other day.
Actually our buddy Brandon, he was doing some work on my house, and I was telling him how I was driving down there with my buddy on his motorcycle, picking up, uh, oddly enough, we played with the bass player in Reaper, but like Crucifix and all the fucking shit you couldn't find in a store. Vinyl Fever had it. Just like you were talking about, Dayglow abortions, uh,
And Crucifix played at City Gardens too, actually.
No Fraud, Discharge. I mean, all this stuff that we were buying on record from this place, and some of the obscure metal stuff I was finding, because my buddy was a skater, I was a freestyle guy. We kind of started that whole trick thing. We were doing competition, so I was the one stupid guy. Everybody else was playing like LL Cool J and doing their routines to that, and I'm coming out with fucking Battery, fucking ripping through a freestyle set with Battery. I know it's recorded somewhere, but that was the difference. Like I came out and I was the metal guy, long hair.
Yeah, when he means tricks, he doesn't mean prostitution. He means
Yeah, no, yeah, no. Well, I was fucking my bike, but that's a different
exactly.
story. But yeah, so like everything punk and hardcore related, I learned from him. I go over there, he's playing Circle Jerks and GBH, and he's actually the one that introduced me to Sacred Reich, because he's like, these guys aren't really punk, but check this out, and it was Ignorance. And I remember going on his bike. I said, let me borrow your bike. And now, mind you, I lived in Northdale, which is in Carrollwood, and fucking Fletcher, where the original Brass Mug is where the Vinyl Fever was.
Brass Mug 1.
Brass Mug 1, original. Yes. So I'm riding a fucking motorcycle. I'm not even like proficient on a motorcycle, but I'm riding there with a backpack, and I'm loading up on shit that I see in his collection. And he's on the back of the bike with a backpack loading up the opposite. Because, back then we didn't like to have copies on tape. We literally went and bought our own shit. And like I said, the skater, I go over there and I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's like, oh, it's a band called DRI. And I was like, what? You know what I mean? So like learning, it was good to have that difference of Dead Kennedys. I mean, I could tell you all
Still
the bands that like he would play, and I would go, dude, who? I was driving down. I went to the Home Depot the other day to get Brandon something, and I'm coming back, and the word Dag Nasty jumped in my head, and I'm like, where the fuck did I get that from? Like, I haven't heard that name in forever, So shit, it's just a different time, Like I would go to the Sunset Club and see punk bands. Like I saw No Fraud, Belching Penguins when they were nobody. Man, I mean, it was just there were a bunch of bands like that wound up getting bigger, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It was a different era for me, and I wouldn't change it, because I think when I started writing music, I was able to mold myself in a way where I could take from all the influences I had. Where some people either grew up punk or they grew up metal, and they just wrote like that. I mean, look at Metallica. If you look at when they do their covers, look at the fucking, Misfits. Everything they covered was what they grew up on.
Diamond Head.
Yep. Motorhead. All that shit that they grew up on, incorporated into their sound. Now, I don't know what the fuck they did. I don't know what the fuck James is listening to today, but he needs to go back and listen to the old shit, because that new Metallica fucking sucks. I'm sorry. The music, I'll tell you, some of the music is killer, but when he comes in, the dude sings, and I'm sorry, dude, but you're not. I'm not. I know we have to change, but really, I mean, no.
Yeah, I haven't heard that new record yet. You know, we mentioned you were talking about vinyl feet. It's done. That closed down a
Oh, it's
couple
been
years ago.
um
What 2001 was it? 2021. I
yes,
mean,
yeah, and
2021. I think.
so basically, I find I don't know if it's somebody had told me the dudes that ran Vinyl Fever, one of them went to another store called Sound Exchange, and that was another place where
Or
it was
vintage vinyl. I'm sorry, no vinyl fever.
in a weird little plaza, and I remember I had to go to a laundromat, and I'm like, oh, what's this Sound Exchange? And you walk in, and it looked like Vinyl Fever. They had everything. I believe they're still around, and they're on Nebraska, kind of in between Fletcher and Bears, kind of going towards the new Orpheum. But they have their own freestanding building. If they're still there, it used to be next to a Malibu. I don't know if you remember Malibu. When you would go to the Mug, it was a Malibu was like a
Oh, okay.
Grand Prix, like
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
would
yeah,
go
yeah,
run
yeah.
through the cars and baseball cages and stuff. Um, but yeah, that was another place that we would go to, and I'd spend a shit ton of, or I would take my old shit and trade it in.
Splatter
Um,
God, right? That Splatter God over at the original. We
yeah,
talked about
yeah,
Brass Mug One, the
yep,
Splatter God shop that was in there. Which
yep.
that I think that was only it might have been there for a couple of years, only maybe 2 or 3. I don't remember the exact length of that was in there in Tampa, but yeah, I mean a lot of the record stores. I mean even when I went up to New York City, I went to the Village. Probably, like I said, probably about I don't know, maybe like 8 years ago, 7 years ago, and there was still some stuff, but it's a lot of places are done now, and that's how I understand that's the new way. It's kind of a bummer, but I think there was like there was like how would I put it? I noticed more stores started coming back when vinyl got popular again. And I don't know because like I said, well, last time I was on the Seaside Boardwalk was right before Sandy, so I don't know if they still have the music wheels there that you can win the records and tapes and all that stuff. I'm sure there's no tapes anymore, mostly records and CDs probably. But yeah, it's weird. It's just like as you get older. But I still have a lot of Jersey memories, and actually, it's funny because I was watching this documentary yesterday a little bit, and I thought of you, and I'm going to play something, and I want you to tell me if you. I know you're going to remember this whole thing, but for anybody who grew up in Jersey, New York, and stuff like that, this was a very common, say, commercial. Yeah, I'm going to play this here. Now, if it doesn't get fucked up here, 1 second here.
A color TV or a Sony
Crazy
Betamax
Eddie's.
or a TV video game.
That's
Get
right.
it now because Crazy Eddie can't be beat with prices so low. He's practically giving it all away. Shop around, get the best prices you can
Yes,
find.
sir.
Then go to Crazy Eddie and Crazy Eddie will beat him. Remember, Crazy Eddie guarantees you the largest selection, professionally staffed service centers, and the guaranteed lowest prices. Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane.
So there was
Yeah,
a whole that was a whole thing
that
with
was a whole
Crazy Eddie.
spiel, dude. Yeah, man.
You
Yeah,
know,
we went to Crazy Eddie's. I mean, my dad was a real stereo buff, and we would always go in there, and he'd be like, "I don't know what I'm doing in this fucking store. They ain't got what I want." And I'm like, "But if you wanted TVs and fucking you name it, they had it, man." Yeah, Crazy Eddie's. His prices are so low. He's practically get. That's why there was an old. If people didn't understand it, because when I came down here, I tried to, the old mama jokes. Your mom's like Crazy Eddie. Her prices are so low, she's
she's
practically
giving
giving
it
it all
away.
away. And people are like, what does that mean? And I was like, up,
Because up
joke's
in
over.
Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, it was a common,
It was a big
that,
thing.
yeah, because it started as one store. So I was just, I'm a big documentary guy, so I kind of get sucked in whenever I watch anything to do with these kind of deals. And Crazy Eddie's a thing I remember as a kid, of course. So actually, for whoever doesn't know this, there was a commercials all the time, radio, TV for this store. And the prices were really low, but there was a reason they were really low. And the guy who actually was on the commercials, Ed, was not actually Crazy Eddie. It was a DJ named Jerry Carroll. The real Crazy Eddie Antar,
Mm-hmm.
involved with major fraud.
Yep.
They did
He
tax
went to
evasion
jail,
in the
didn't he?
70s. Oh yeah, he actually
Yeah.
took off. So this guy was hiding in Israel and got extradited to the States. He served like 7 years. He actually died in 2016, but he because they had stores in Paramus, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Philly. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they had
Everywhere.
over 40 locations eventually. But what they did is when they first started, they weren't making that much. But in '87, they made $350 million in sales. But they were taking the money and putting it in. Basically, they were saying they weren't making shit and putting the money in these foreign accounts. Like they had like an account in Israel for like $6 million on the side because they were basically that's how they were able to give away the appliances so cheap because they weren't
Right.
paying the taxes on them.
Right.
So they had tax evasion in the 70s. 80s, I think they started screwing over a bunch of investors. But yeah, that's how they were able to discount those things because they were basically ripping off the whole system. They would report fake sales. Yeah, imagine that. But they got away with it for a long time. They even tried to put some of that money that they had stolen back into it slowly. So it looked like, it was when they started getting investigated and stuff. But yeah, they were a total scam. Crazy Eddie. That was like, it started in the 70s, but yeah, he got extradited from Israel and he actually tried, I heard, to start doing Crazy Eddies again eventually after he got out, but didn't work out. And these are, back then you had no idea. You just saw this fucking guy on TV all the time screaming. Like I said, the guy on the commercial actually wasn't even Crazy Eddie.
Nope.
But it was like a family too, the Antars. There was a couple of them that were all like, that's how they would, they all had a little scheme together. Actually, one of them went to school to learn how to, they even like sent one of them, paid for his whole schooling to learn how to get past the system and shit like that. It's pretty crazy.
One was going to be, might even been going to be like a lawyer.
Yeah. It's probably the one I'm talking about. They taught him how to get around it because they were one of the largest electronic chains in the market back then.
Yep.
I mean, a big fraud, but yeah, so a lot of Jersey, isn't it? We gotta, we have. I mean, Jersey. You think about it. For us who are from there, there's a lot of.
Well, I think of all the old stores we used to go to. Two Guys.
Yeah.
Two Guys fucking ended like
Cumberland Farms. I don't know if that's
or if you were going
AMP
to a Home Depot,
ShopRite.
You weren't going to Home Depot. You were going to Rickles or Channels.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was a different. It just was different,
Yeah, and it was different, but I'm not. I loved living there as a kid. Pathmark,
ShopRite,
AMP, ShopMark.
It's weird because when I had to call
Cost Cutters, right? That was another one, which may still be around.
when I called my uncle Stevie to tell him about my dad passing, I call him and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm over here shopping at the ShopRite. What's up? I just got here." And I was like, "Oh," and I started. He goes, "Well, let me finish shopping here. Let me get out of ShopRite and I'll call you back." And of course he got the total fucking Jersey because he lives up in Harrison, which is Newark. Basically, outskirts of Newark, Harrison. So he's got that full, hey, and I hate it because whenever you call them, hey, Eddie, everybody calls me Eddie. Hey, Eddie. I'm like, I'm not fucking 10 anymore. I don't go by Eddie. Hey, what's up, Eddie? Even my sister, like she sent a text the other day because my wife was like, hey, you want to do this or go walk? Because my sister's like did the lap band or whatever they call that,
you were saying
the
that,
surgery.
yeah.
And she's already lost like a shit ton of weight. She's killing it. She's fucking, dude, she makes my exercise look like I'm standing still, dude. She does 15,000 to 20,000 steps a day. Even at while she's working, she just stands at her desk and just walks in place. I'm proud of her, man. She's killing it. But my wife said, hey, do you want to, they were talking about going walking 3 miles. I said, fuck you. I'll bring my bike. I ain't walking because I can't. My hip's fucked.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't do 3 miles. I can walk around the block with the dogs a couple times, but 3 miles, fuck out of here. And she's like, oh, I don't know. I thought Eddie, and she wrote, Eddie. I'm like, what's this Eddie shit? I said,
it's Edwin, don't you know this?
Yeah, fuck you. I'll kill you for that.
Isn't that what the Metal Encyclopedia says or whatever that is? It's got you listed as?
Yeah, Anthony, you're right. That's the way that works.
Yeah, no, but like I said, very for anybody that listens to this show, this is just, we decided to do an episode today. We really don't have any rhyme or reason. We're just we figured we'd put one on for the weekend. We got some guests coming up, which we'll talk about.
We're Jersey dudes, man, and sometimes
it comes out.
What do they say? Roots. Go back to your roots. So we're kind of.
But Jersey has some, Danzig's from Jersey. Obviously, you got
Overkill.
Overkill.
Or were they New York? Yeah, they were from
you
Jersey.
Got
Revenant,
which we'd love Henry. We'd love to get.
Tried to get Henry on.
It could happen, I think. And then who you got? Monster Magnet, which I'm totally dig their records. There's a Mortal Decay, which we were talking about earlier for the show.
Johnny well.
Yeah, so I mean, it's it's a Jersey thing, and actually, what we're gonna do before we're gonna talk about some stuff tonight. We got upcoming guests we're gonna mention. We're just gonna talk about some shows that are coming up. I got a few questions that were sent in to us. We're just kind of just chilling. So anybody who's tuning in. We appreciate it. We're just kind of doing an episode to do an episode tonight. This is the Tampa Morgue, and this is what we do. And, we're going to play actually a band from Jersey right now, a band from Union, New Jersey. So these guys, they actually got back together not too long ago, 84, 85 this is from. This is a demo. This is actually 86, this demo, I believe, because they were under a different name, I think, 84 and 85. So this is a band called Fantom Warior, with one R. And they used to be, I think they were Phantom Lord in 84, 85. But they've done some stuff because they opened for Raven, I believe, at St. Vitus in 2013. But this song we're going to play it's called Morbid Invasion. And it's off a demo titled Morbid Invasion that came out in 86. It was recorded and mixed at Merlin Music Studios in East Hanover, New Jersey. Some tapes, they were individually numbered, engineered by Neil Vanderhoof. So in the band there was vocalist. You had, hopefully I said I'm pronouncing all these names right, but you had John Cherniak on vocals and bass, James Jensen on drums, Steve Schley on guitar, and Keith Pyers on guitar. But like I said, now I know John, the vocalist, he did make an appearance on the 2014 Hail Death record by Black Anvil that came out on Relapse on the song My Hate Is Pure. But this is a band, they had some demos out. They had one demo, they had one full length, I think in 87, that was a Fantasy or Reality. They put out a single in 2012, and there was a comp in 2014. But this is going to be Fantom Warior, and the song is called Morbid Invasion off the 1986 demo, and we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue right after this song.
The most present man, which walks the lies about this mental master is to send to the knees and bow to the Fantom Warrior.
That was Fantom Warior on the Tampa Morgue with the track Morbid Invasion off their 1986 demo titled Morbid Invasion. But yeah, Fantom Warior, dug them. Like I said, I know they were still doing stuff. I don't know if they still are. I believe they might still be active, but I know they were doing stuff, I believe, 2009, 2013 and stuff, but yeah, so we got some upcoming guests we want to, and anybody who hasn't listened, we had Dallas on, Dallas Toller Wade on the last episode. Dallas was awesome. I mean, that was another great interview from Narcotic Wasteland.
Yep. Nile.
Obviously Nile. I mean, he was great. And that was another, like I said, just a awesome talk with that dude. He was,
I get people that always say, my God, dude, you guys, it's fucking like your podcasts are long. And it's like, dude, that's not scripted. Like,
yeah, it just happens. If it happens,
sometimes,
it happens.
like with Kyle, he was on a time crunch. So it was what it was. But you take the dude from Raven, Kyle Kennedy, Carl
Snowy
Kennedy,
Shaw.
Snowy Shaw. I mean, you name. We can go on. Even
Dawn of the Dead from Nunslaughter, which was Josh from.
I mean, from VNC. I mean, if you look at how it goes, it's a conversation. You don't just cut a conversation off.
And that's why we don't like to deal with. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, me and you. We don't like to deal with the press, like the press junkets when they have to do their press for albums, because like we book about 85 to 90% of these bands ourselves directly. We try not to go through those channels because, as we saw, we had Kyle Thomas on. Kyle, we've known Kyle for years, but he had about an hour, and we knew that, so we had to kind of like go around that. Yeah, we don't care if an interview lasts a half an hour, that's cool. But if it lasts 2 hours, then that's the way it is. We don't really try to, we don't really we kind of just sign on like we are today and just do the show and go with it as we go, So. And yeah, you're right. Like,
there's no rhyme or reason to what we do. You have a list of questions that you want to ask. You do a fucking shit ton of research. My research is, if I know you, I know you. What I mean?
Well, we grew up listening to a lot of these bands, but you got to know, like, the thing is that, and I've gotten a few comments from listeners about this, and I really do appreciate it. Like, you have to actually find out more than you hear on every other fucking interview. You have to know, your whatever you call it. You have to know your facts a little bit. So we know, like, of course, Exhorder. We grew up listening to these bands. Like, I mean, there's very rarely a band that we haven't grew up listening to that we have on here or have had some kind of like either relationship with or something.
Right.
But no matter what, you still have to like, you hear some people doing interviews and it's absolutely fucking awful. They don't know shit. Like for us, we kind of follow a timeline. It's obvious. Like, we don't care about like the point. Yeah, we start at the beginning of history.
Of their history, and then go to today. Like, what are they doing today? And then let them tell them what they're doing tomorrow when they sign off. This way, people have the whole package.
And then 10 years from now, someone come listen, and it's still relevant because it's not like it goes around. Because a lot of these guys we have on, they're, I mean, they're a lot older than us.
You get shit out of people sometimes that, most people would never know. I mean,
you can kind of tell too, because we could see so we don't do video, but like, you can kind of, sometimes when we're interviewing someone, we ask them something, you could tell they're kind of like I had, like when do you ever hear people talk about, Kyle Thomas, we talked to him about Phil. Phil was a member of Exhorder for a day like that. He flew down, tried out, like had the job. Kyle came
and he even said, he straight up said that Phil went back to the boys and Pantera and basically said, listen, this is kind of the way I want to go. I want to go heavier. I don't want to do the power metal thing. And lo and behold, you went from Cowboys from Hell to Vulgar Display of Power, which, again, put the albums side by side, they sound nothing alike. They're
Yeah.
fucking, one is badass, just ripping, and the next one is absolute heaviness to the maximum. I mean, I remember when you heard that, jun, 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 and you know what I mean? That first riff was so produced and heavy. And then when Phil sang, he didn't have that same high pitch kind of, because even when he did the growls, they were a higher pitch growl, if you remember.
Oh,
He went down several octaves and started not death metal, but more Phil. He created his own sound. Like Kyle Thomas had his own vocal style. Like if you hear a vocal like that, you go, that's X Hoarder. There's certain bands,
and I think Kyle Thomas is one of the top. I mean, I think that guy just has an amazing. I've seen him, which we talked about with him. I went to Bourbon Street and watched him do his cover band. So they would do foreigner tunes, priest tunes for like 3 or 4 hours a night. Like it was crazy. And this, Floodgate. You look at that, Pitts vs. Preps, which we played, which no one ever. I mean, that was some killer shit.
He did some stuff with Roz on his Flow project too, I think.
Devil's Highway he did with Ralph before Ralph
yep.
That was going on. Then Trouble. I mean, Distortion Field is a fucking great record.
And we were blessed enough to get to see that live.
Yeah, we played with them. Actually,
we did. But we got to see them live for free. Yeah, I always like when we get to see those. I mean, that was a killer day of shows, man. Everybody that we saw ripped.
Yeah, that was the Metal Fest. That was 2016. We're talking about.
Was it 16? Yeah, I guess it was.
So it was Generic Christ, which was us.
Malevolent Creation.
As
a 4-piece.
Last time we saw Brett play.
That's correct. Trouble, Atheist. Atheist was
Madball, Atheist. Obituary, where John from Sabotage Oliva joined up with him, and that was awesome. Just the vibe was really cool that whole evening. I remember we had a young drummer at that time. It's very ironic because now he's like painting love symbols everywhere. But more power to him. Yeah, peace and love.
He's the Ringo Starr. Peace and love. Peace and love.
He was a trip though. And he was, I did love the kid. He played with us, and I remember that night you just saw like remember he like ran face first into a building. It was
the Skid Row song "We Are the Youth Gone Wild" because he went
fucking crazy.
Yeah, dude. Because I remember we were standing up in that the dressing area, where we had our own little area upstairs, and
you had like Malevolent Creation everyone was up there. Right?
Yeah, everybody. And I remember he was standing there, and I just kept looking at him, and he had just that fucking beginning stages of drunk smile.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what's going on with you? And he's like, dude, this is fucking fantastic, man. And
he had some girl walk. We won't get too much into it, but he had that girl walk up to him, want to hang out with him. He's like, no, I'm just going to hang out with my band guys. And we're like,
that girl would have taken him 6 ways to Sunday, dude. And he didn't want it.
You'd rather hang out with us, fucking
loser.
Kick himself in the ass now for that.
Now put us now rewind, and that's us standing there with our boys. It would have been the
adios amigos.
The fucking English wave goodbye because I'm out.
Yeah, that was a funny night, but he was cool. But that was a crazy show. It was great. I remember it was just the vibes, like we said. And then Trevor from Obituary had the barbecue truck that after they got done playing, he started making pulled pork sandwiches at the truck. With his barbecue sauce. I mean, it was just a cool event.
Yeah, but we were treated with the utmost respect.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was fucking great. I mean, the fact that Obituary just to us, as a band, I always joke around because Generic Christ never made it at all. Of course not. But we had some good times, some good years where we played some great shows, played Puerto Rico, played after that, actually, we played even cooler. We just had a good run for 2 years, would you say, right? It was a really solid
2 or 3 years. We had a bunch of killer. We were getting put on some killer shows.
Yeah, and Obituary treated us great. They were always they got us on that Metal Fest. I mean, they just put us on it. I mean, shit. All of a sudden, we're looking and we're playing with Atheist, Obituary, Deicide, fucking.
Well, I look at our career. We got to do the DTA show.
That was killer. Overkill. We played
Overkill, Voivod. We've played some, Goat Horror. How many times we played with Goat Horror? Yeah. And they were usually big shows at the Orpheum. We've done some cool Metal Militia and fucking Metal for the Military shows. So we've done a lot of shows with huge bands. It's just for some reason, we just never. I mean, and I don't get it, and I know I'm
I
biased.
see. I think a big thing is we weren't a death, like we were never a death metal band. We were
What
like,
does that matter?
we just did
Muni-
our own thing, though.
I
Because you
mean,
remember there was a
municipal.
period of time
I
in
guess so,
Tampa
but when I look at a band
where
like
everyone was death metal bands.
Municipal Waste is going everywhere, and they are the furthest fucking thing from death metal.
Yeah.
So I look at bands that are out there doing shit, and that's irrelevant, man. Because what we put out, our last record, was we put our me and you especially put everything we had into that record. The lineup wound up being a fucking pile of dog shit.
It worked on the last record we did, we had a killer lineup player wise for the most part, and
We
but we
had a
also,
shitty band mentality wise.
yeah, we kind of knew that. Like, I remember, if you remember correctly, in the studio, I was like, dude, we need to finish this record because the wheels are about to fall off. Like, and this band, this almost 20 years this band has been around one way or the other, and we had, in the beginning it was rough. But like, it got to a point where actually, it's funny because we were talking about this, me and you, recently too. Um, we had a guitar player for a long time in the band, and he just, unfortunately, when he left, everything started happening for us. And it wasn't because he left, because he was a big part of the band. I'm not,
He was.
he was a big part of the band for many years, but he happened to leave, and we did pick up I guess you would say, a very talented free agent at that time period.
Well, we had a couple fill-ins, in between that were,
Damien was a killer live when we played
and
with
then
him.
Brad played, a couple good shows.
Brad did it. Yeah, he played guitar good.
But
for us.
yeah, I mean, when we got Marco, things started to. It seemed like we were. I mean, at first when we got him, I was like, "Holy shit, we finally got the lineup to write the kind of music we've been wanting to write."
Super talented fucking kid, dude. Dude could do anything.
I mean, man, good artist.
Super talented. Just didn't, but the vibe just
what I wish we could have done was done the Captain America, where we fucking shocked his brain into being fucking something else, because he just was not.
Well, I think with him, he
was
does his own
young,
thing.
man.
Yeah, he does his own thing. Even to this day, like, I still talk to him, and I mean, he's, like I said, he's one of the most talented people I know. Definitely one of those guys that can pretty much, like, I envy him that he can pretty much, if he decides to build a building, he'll build it perfect. Like, the guy, whatever he touches he's a super talented guy. Just the band at that time, there was a couple different aspects, if you remember, that were just kind of fucking, and that's what happens if you've been together for a long time. So, but the last three records, that's the ones for that band with Generic Christ that I would say that I'm definitely the most proud of: The House of Ill Repute, Taste of Death, Insomniac. But when it was over, you kind of knew, like, when we were recording that album at the end, like, we kind of knew that, like I said to you, you brought this up to me recently. I said, hey, dude, we need to get this album recorded because we are on borrowed time, because everyone was just it wasn't that much fun anymore, and that's how you know when it becomes not fun.
When I'm having to go record scratch guitar tracks because people don't want to show up, that's when you go, all right, man, we gotta put the express fucking getting this shit done, because
yeah, that's what we did too. We got it done.
Because if you remember, we dealt with the same fucking thing in Flesh Reaper, dude, where I had to go finish the bass on the record because somebody tried to hold us up.
Well, what happened with Flesh Reaper was there was a lot of fucking problems that last, there was just a lot of shit that happened that last, what was it, the last year or two? It was just kind of it was the same thing. It's the same thing as Generic Christ.
Yeah, but there was a difference because Flesh Reaper was a younger, we hadn't done it as long. It's just, it seemed like people always thought that they could strong arm their way, kind of like, we're going to play the show we're going to play this song at this show no matter what Tony says. And I was like, yeah, go ahead and see how that works out for you, brother.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, and I think I was pretty, like, I don't know, like I said, probably the only enemies I have are ex-bandmates. Usually that's how it goes, either ex-bandmates or someone slept with someone's girlfriend or some bullshit like that, but which we weren't really, it wasn't, we weren't doing that to each other. But there was always with those bands, every band, I think it comes to that point, and those two bands kind of fizzled. But like I said, we had long runs with them, and Generic Christ isn't done. It's just not right now. It's just you're doing the Monstrosity, I'm doing the Doomsla thing right now, and we'll see. I definitely would like to, do another Generic Christ EP maybe. I don't know about
Yeah.
record, but we'll see who the fuck knows. I
It
just know
sucks,
that.
man, because I'd love to get this DTR stuff recorded. I've told you that 1,000 times, but it's just I just don't, the people who are involved, I'm just not interested in, And what's funny, aside from lead guitar and drums, which I could fucking program the drums or find a drummer, that's not it. I could do the whole record myself, because I basically played guitar in the beginning, then I moved back to bass, and then I sang on it, all of it. So I wrote it all. So it's like, it sucks because both of those bands should have been way bigger than they were, and they weren't.
I thought
And
DTR was killer, man. I mean, it's a
we
weird
just didn't
thing.
get
We
any
always talk
respect in the
about,
scene.
well,
We
in
got no
Tampa,
respect.
it's, as you know, it's one of those things where, like, I always say this, and well, first of all, we kind of did our own thing. I'll always say that. We never, ever, ever followed anybody else's lead. We
Mm-mm.
totally did our own thing. And other bands would eventually, when we started getting respect, people would always tell us that, like, you're different than this and this and this, which is, that's what we wanted. And I think we're in a period for the last 10, 15 years, and and I get it, and it's nothing wrong with it, but we are in a period where, like, if you got one guy from this band, from this band in your band, you're going to have a little more success, and they leech onto it. It's just it's a lot of bands that probably in like 15 or 20 years will get more appreciation than they did when they were around, and that's the
Oh, for
usual.
sure.
Tampa, when we were playing, it's totally different now. We were playing with, so we had obviously the Ulcers we were playing with
Mm-hmm.
Mitch and them. We were playing with Promethean Horde, with
We did a bunch of shows with you guys.
yeah, we did.
When I was
Obviously,
pulling,
yeah,
I was pulling double duty.
yeah, we were doing the double duty shows. We did. What were some of the other bands we were playing with back then
Um,
in Tampa? We were Sorcerer. We would play with
Brad's Sledge Grinder.
Sledge Grinder. I think we Must Not Kill.
I think we did
A
a
lot
couple
of
shows with Contorted.
Contorted. Yeah, like there was a certain group of groups there that was probably like a 10-year period where we're all kind of like, doing shows, and then now it's like I said, I'll be back in Tampa probably after the summer for a while. Me and Ed have been talking about doing some shows, with which we won't even, like, I can't really say anything now because nothing's decided, but we've talked about doing a couple of shows for a project we have been involved with. But yeah, I mean, it's different now. It's going to be weird going back. I still see Sorcerer still doing shit. I think they just went up to, like, I want to say Colorado. I don't want to say the wrong place. I think they just took off and went Seattle. Okay, so they went up to Seattle. Okay,
Yeah, because Mitch saw them.
Yeah, so they've been doing some stuff. And I know, like I said, what was the other Passive Possession we played with?
Oh my God, that's old school. Like,
yeah,
I played with the original Passive Possession with Richard Brunel
Randy,
and
yeah.
Aaron Fuller and Randy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus so it's
the new one.
Yeah, so and I think so I mean it was a whole different time period, but I'm sure there's a bunch of more bands I'm forgetting. We
Forged
also,
in
like
Blood.
we said, yeah, Forged in Blood, and we actually kind of leaned over towards. We were playing with a lot of punk bands too in the Tampa scene, like the Mosquito Teeths, who actually I saw Mosquito Teeths just played a show actually like last week. The Scurvies, the Hatchet Face, a lot of bands. So it was Tampa was at that time it was Boomers, Brass Mug. Boomers, I think, ended
what's Eric's Abortion Twins?
Abortion Twins, yeah. Which they're still doing it too, man. Those guys do their own thing. Like Abortion Twins are always doing their own thing.
Yeah, but we played a lot of the Foo Bar shows were a lot
Bleeding
of
Money.
Yep, but the Foo Bar shows were a lot of hardcore punk stuff, and the thing that was the beautiful thing about Generic Crisis, we fit in with everybody because even Brandon was like, dude. Every time I'm driving and I listen to that compilation and Nazi in Blue comes on, he always says, the first line you say in the song, I don't want to say it here because people may get offended, but
the fucking pigs.
Yeah. Fucking pig. He's like, dude, he goes, dude, it makes me want to rage, dude. And I'm like, well, that was the idea of the song. That's what a song's supposed to do. Is it's supposed to make you feel something.
Well, we always had that punk shit going on, so we always like kind of bled over, and we
did that.
We had enough songs to play punk shows.
If we had a metal show, we played more of the metal style. If we had a punk show, we kind of flipped our set to the punkier stuff that we had. So yeah, I mean it, And we played a bunch of cool shows at Flesh Reaper too.
Yeah, I mean, Flesh Reaper was just I mean, that was we did some cool stuff. I think it was when I
Except for
listened
that,
back.
except for that fucking
We won't
closet we
mention that.
played.
That fucking
That
awful
fucking
two dogs
closet.
we were playing. So we won't mention that. I mean, we played this show and
And we won't even say where.
we won't even say where, but we're playing and like there's two dogs basically like fucking on the stage in front of us, the stage area.
No. There was no stage. We were playing on the
No
floor
stage.
where people were standing in front. And the first song, just imagine you're a band and you're playing and all you hear is, ooh.
Couldn't even hear ourselves.
That was it for the whole first song, dude, was just that noise. And I was just looking, going, well, that's fun.
Yeah,
that was Playing in a Closet. That's what I was going to write a song called Playing in the Closet.
I saw a flyer for that show recently, actually.
I did too.
I kind of cringed. I was like, oh my God, that might have went up there with the fucking show we played in
Melbourne.
Cocoa Beach. Was it Cocoa Beach
Melbourne.
we played with
Melbourne.
Rip Torn. That's another band that we played with before. We played with Rip Torn and they sent us over there to, was it Melbourne? And that was almost the show we all killed each other, right?
Yes.
But so we went down there and the fucking
never wanted to kill each other. That's the funny thing about
the
dynamic.
True.
We wanted to fight everybody else, but never.
Well, you remember that fucking show? The promoter tried to give us split $5 between the two bands. He admitted he put no flyers up, and it was like, it was the worst.
You guys, I remember you told me to go outside. You said, I'm going back to the office. I need you to go outside because you were worried if I came to the office that it was going to probably not end up the way it probably did. Because I think, would you get $50 out of him?
Well, no. Yeah, it was at first. It was me and Brad Jones were sitting there staring at $5 that he wanted us to split. So I mean, because it was a total shit show.
Yeah, and if you think about it, we had 3 different vehicles that were taken there because Guy went by himself, and then Joe and Chris rode together, and you rode together. So it's like we drove to Melbourne for nothing.
And then we almost it was almost a fucking free for all. It was like a Jerry Springer show.
Dude, those days, those were the days, dude.
That was a good time, but so everyone is probably listening. Yeah, like I said, this is just a bullshit episode. We're just hanging out, and but we're going to mention some guests that are coming on. But yeah, that's some memories, Ed. Some memories of some of the not so fun moments. But so some upcoming guests we have booked. So we have which I'm excited about this one. We were actually talking about this before we started tonight. Sunday, April 14th, we got the bassist and vocalist Jamie Bailey of Brodequin coming on. They have a new album out, The Harbinger of Woe. They're from Knoxville, Tennessee. It's their first record since 2004, which was the Methods of Execution. I believe it was that one on
Heavy.
Season of Mist. Yeah, it's a killer fucking record. It is. We're totally looking forward to have Jamie come on. So he's coming on the 14th, which is a Sunday, and then another Monday, April 22nd. We got a vocalist Harry Kwakanen from A Hooded Menace. He's from that. He has actually his main band is a black metal band called Hail Conjurer. He was also in Horse Latitudes, which is when I first heard him. And he'll come on the Morgue on Monday, April 22nd. So looking forward to that. And I pulled there some shows that I got sent to me too that are coming into town here. I'm sorry if I'm a little disorganized this evening, but so we have. Which we had this, it's funny. I will see if I say this name right because we had him as a guest, Alvar, who's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We've played with his bands. We played with Reaper Mancer a bunch of times, and Cunt Knuckles and a bunch of his other bands. But exactly, yeah, they're playing at the Brass Mug, Jekadador. I know I'm pronouncing this name wrong, and I still
Ejaculator.
Yeah, Ejaculator, Jekadador. So I can never pronounce it right. But they're playing with Withering Earth, Precipice. Who else are they playing with? I've tried. Jesus Christ here. I'll remember in a second. But they're playing April 7th, 2024, which is going to be this weekend. So which is 2 days away if you're hearing this and you're in Tampa. Grand Inquisitor, I think they're playing with. And I can't remember I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, doors at 5, $15 at the Brass Mug. They'll be there. And then Saturday, the 13th, April 13th, you have, I got this sense. So this is a record release show. It's a Swamp Tooth, Scorch, Withdrawn from Humanity, Nocturnal Dawn, and Nibiru, which I hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. That is doors at 6 p.m., 10 doors at 6, $10 at the door, and that will be at the Brass Mug also. And we also have, let me see here, which I just heard from them last night, Narcotic Wasteland, June 21st. They'll be playing at the Brass Mug, so I don't have any details on that show. I just know they're playing there on the 21st of June, and we'll give you more details as we get it. But that's Dallas Toller Wade, who was just on our show,
Yep.
2 weeks ago. His band, Dallas from Nile, they'll be playing at the Brass Mug. High on Fire and High Command and Zeta, which I believe that's right, May 4th at the Conduit. And Ed, you got some stuff that announced this week too, which I don't know
Hold
if
on, there's one other show you forgot. April 23rd, coming to the Orpheum, Decapitated, Septic Flesh, Cataclysm, and Algaon.
I didn't even see that. Yeah, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, big tour. And then, of course, if you're really into stupidness, you can go see Upon a Burning Body. I remember what that guy did, and I was like, I can't do it. But then there's also another show, Chaos and Carnage 2024. And of course, when you look at it, you're like, Jesus Christ, man, I can't make out 90% of these band names. But Cattle Decapitation, Carnifex, Rivers of Nile, Humanity's Last Breath, and you go ahead and Vitriol. We saw them with.
You toured at Rivers of Nile too, didn't you?
I did. We did on that. They opened up the
DTA tour.
DTA tour. Yep. So yeah, I'm.
Oh, so we played with them
I
too.
think it's only the singer and the guitar player are the only two original dudes that were, left. I think. But yeah, I mean, it's. It seems like the what you call it, the Orpheum seems to get a lot of these bands, and then of course a band you like, Bats, playing the Orpheum with Necrot.
Yes, and there's something related to that we have on this show coming up that I'm not going to until I get the date announced. But yes, I do like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And
but yeah, trying to
we have some kind of Tampa Morgue link to that whole thing. But yeah, they're playing. Actually, I think they're in South America right now, I want to say. I think they're with Exciter. I don't know if they're South America, but I know that Bat's over there right now with Exciter somewhere for the next 2 weeks playing.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, they're playing. So what's did you see any of the, I haven't checked. I don't know if you, have you seen, well, we also, Ed, while I'm looking really fast, do you know the information for the shows you're playing, or do you want me to tell you?
You can go ahead, because
the weekend. You want me to go? So weekend of August 16th through 17th, you guys are headlining day 2, I think. Monstrosity, yes. 2024 NYDM International Annual Fest at the Paper Tiger in San Antonio.
Yes.
Is that correct? Do I have that all right?
That is 100% correct.
And there you go. And you guys are also going to be October 12th and 13th. I don't know what day you guys are playing, but you guys, already the lineup looks good with the only 4 bands I see. You guys are playing California Death Fest with Dismember, Sodom, Sacrifice, and of course Monstrosity. Yep. And that's going to be at the Oakland Metro outside?
Yes.
It's called?
I believe it is. They do them outside. So that'll be pretty killer, man. I mean, Sodom, I had the opportunity to see them on the cruise that we just did. So that was cool. But Dismember, I haven't seen Dismember, who had to be 20 years, man. It has to be over 20 years since I've seen Dismember. Maybe they might have played a festival we did, back maybe early 2010, 2011, something like that. But yeah, that would be cool. And Sacrifice, as you know, I'm a huge Sacrifice fan. I learned that Forward Determination record front to back on guitar when I was a kid. So definitely, will be cool to see them too.
And I haven't seen, I'll get the update. I haven't seen if Swarmfest has made any announcement yet.
Yeah, I thought they said they were making a huge one the other day, but I saw nothing.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'll get that information of who's playing that. But that's, I'm trying to figure out if I remember the dates for Swarmfest, which we'll get it because I know it's way ahead. I know it's November. That'll be. So I know Sorcerer's playing it. They started adding bands already, but I haven't seen exactly who's playing it. But once we get that info, we'll share that. And there's a bunch of, we're talking to Ed about. There's actually, I think that's all the shows, right? I'm making sure here. Trying to be prepared here.
I see they added Cancer and Hyrax to the California.
Oh, did they? Really?
Yep. So that'll be cool.
Go.
Cancer
it's
is
growing.
That's usually how it works.
Yeah, it's growing. And let me see here. So, okay, and I also saw today. Actually, there's a bunch of releases coming out today, so we can mention some of those. And I know you got some too, so I'll go through what I have, and then you could just plug in afterwards. I do have some releases that came out today. One album that came out actually on March 29th, which Ed, I don't think you would actually be into it, but I have liked this band for a long time, and it's definitely like not for everybody, I guess. Because, I like a lot of me and Ed, we pretty much have a lot of the same music was taste, but we also have a little bit of difference. Like I like more of the blackish metal stuff that he does. But Mutilation put out a new record, Black Metal Cult on Osmos out of France. So they had that came out. It's got 6 tracks on it, and I'm really digging it, man. It's a good record. I followed Mutilation for a long time, and I thought that they were done, and I just out of nowhere they came out and put this record out. I know that he's been doing like Suicide Circle and a bunch of his other stuff, but yeah, Mutilation, Black Metal Cult came out March 29th on Osmos, French band. Also here we got House of Penance or Hour of Penance. I'm sorry, from
Hour
Italy.
of Penance.
Devotion. They have an album coming out today. We played with them, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And I never know if I got this name right. The Monolith Death Cult.
Monolith.
Yeah, Death Cult.
Yep.
From the Netherlands, I do remember that. They the Demon Who Makes Trophies of Men, which is a great album title.
It does sound good.
It's a great record title. That came out today. Disbelief out of Germany, Killing Karma. That record. Gorgasm. Since they've been at those guys, 94, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
They have a new EP out. Sadakist, it's called. Chicago band, obviously. Witch Vomit.
Singer, guitar player is the singer for Broken Hope.
Yep. You have Witch Vomit from Portland. They have an album called Funeral Sanctum out. And then Destroyer of Light from Texas. We see Degradation Years is out today. So that's some new releases. There's a bunch, but these are the ones that I was checking out earlier. What do you got, Ed? I know there was something you were mentioning too that's coming out.
Well, this is stuff that's come out in the last couple weeks, maybe. I go through my Spotify and always when I'm in the gym because 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes, I listen to Rogan, but a lot of times I try to get through my shit. But
Pat Benatar. What's the Let's Get Physical? Was that Pat Benatar?
No, that was Olivia Newton-John.
Olivia Newton-John, okay. Yeah. She was gorgeous when I was a kid.
Yes, she was hot. Municipal Waste put out a record called Tango and Thrash. It's got Kurt Russell on the cover, dude. It's great. it's what you would expect from Municipal Waste, just a bunch of fucking funny songs. Aborted put out a record called Vault of Horrors. Aborted, I did a couple shows with them. They're brutal. I mean, again, if you like that style of music, they fucking kill. I mean, they're just fast and heavy as fuck. And then we were talking about this earlier. Hideous Divinity put out a record called Unextinct. Again, super technical, heavy death. Sometimes I can listen to it and go, fuck yeah. And then other times I'm just like, what? Come on, man. It's because sometimes I have no disrespect when I say this. So please, nobody, if your band is who I'm talking about, it's not a disrespectful thing, but sometimes math metal, and I call it math because you'd have to count how many fucking times you're all over the fucking fretboard. It's just sometimes in 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, if I were in the afternoon, I'd be like, fuck yeah, this is killer. But sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, it's brutal. But they're killer. And Brodequin, we already talked about them.
That record, I mean, we mentioned earlier, but Jesus.
It's brutal, dude.
It's a fucking great record.
And then some local boys put out a record, The Absence, Breeding Hysterics. It's different. It's not what I expected, but I listened to it again, and I hear it. It's badass, and we know Jamie and obviously Taylor and all the other guys from the band. So I've been knowing those cats for a long fucking time. There's another band I listen to, kind of doomy, kind of, I don't know, man, old school. Like, think Autopsy slowed down a little bit, but they're called Coffins. I told you about them.
Oh yeah, Coffins.
It's called Sinister Oath. Fucking heavy, like when I talk about sludge, fucking heavy. And then the last one that I listened to yesterday and this morning, and you said you saw it too, was that band Ingested.
Yes.
Um, and it's called The Tide of Death and Fractured Dreams. And sometimes, again, no disrespect, but when I hear a lot of those kind of Chicago-ish bands and they're doing that real heavy, that old, like that Dying Fetus breakdown, and then they do that weird stuff where they're doing like those, and then the guy comes in and it's like pig squeals and fucking whatever on the vocals. Sometimes I'm just like, oh my god, it's too much. But when this dude started singing, I was like, all right, this is heavy fucking shit. This is what I'm talking about. Because no offense, when you sing, man, I want to know what you're saying to a degree. I know Glenn now kind of, if like when I watched the lyric video, I was like, oh, I can hear it because I'm seeing the words, so I can kind of hear it. Back in the old day, Glenn, the first Deicide record, you could understand every fucking word he says.
Such a great
And
record.
that's the type of way I try to sing when I sing. So you can understand every word that I say. You too. Like, even when you do your Tony voice, the Sam Kinison and John Conley had a baby voice.
I was just talking about Kinnison today with my buddy Wilt, but go ahead.
Yeah, dude. I was telling Brandon because he always says, "Man," I said, "Yeah, if Sam Kinison and the singer for Nuclear Assault had a baby, that's what Tony's voice when he does the Tony voice because that high pitch because you have that Sam Kinison, ow, ow.
Either love or hate it, maybe kind of deal going on.
But I love the fact that you can understand vocals. I like to hear somewhat what you're saying, and if
that's
you're just
big, right? You got
if you're just sound like you're literally just and that to me that like Chris Barnes, like the last couple records, it's just like what are we doing, dude? And I'm not slamming Chris Barnes because we've heard he can sing. We know he can. The first fucking 6 Feet Under record, his vocals were.
Did you
killer.
hear the new 6 Feet Under stuff?
I have not heard any of it yet. But I'm and I also know people who were there in the studio and. Whatever it is, I don't care. I have nothing against Chris. I'm talking about his vocals. I mean, that's, the music was always heavy. It's just, come on, man. You know he can do it.
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, he knows he can do it. I know he can fucking sing the song. So just sing the fucking.
The new shit sounds different, man. The new what I heard, I think I only heard like one song actually, but it was definitely worth checking out. I'd say. And there's a band, I don't know if you've heard of them, Addict from Germany.
Yes.
They've been around, for a bit. They put out the third full length. I think it comes out today, actually, also. Now, I mean, if you're a Merciful Fate fan, it's killer. But Return of the Witchfinder, they put out today. And, and I believe, like I said, I think it's their third record. But, so like I said, if you're into Fate or Diamond, definitely worth checking out. I think it's real. They write some killer songs. So, and I mean, I can't think of anything else that's coming out. A lot of shit coming out today. I was really surprised to see all the releases coming out today.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's out, but it's not anything, unless you want to, I mean, if you want to know, there's a new Five Finger Death Punch record.
I've never heard that. I don't know if I've ever, okay, so there's a breaking thing. I don't know if I've ever heard that fucking band.
I have.
I've heard of them.
I have.
Yeah,
My son dug them. We saw them. Me and you saw them with Korn.
See, I don't even remember. Oh, yeah. That fucking festival, right?
Yeah, remember because we were going backstage to see Korn and we saw the singer, remember? And he's like giving us the quiet sign because he didn't want to talk to the fans, remember?
Yeah, so for everybody knows this, me and Ed, not that we didn't go willingly to this festival. We went to this, I was dating somebody who was doing merchandise for one of the bands that was on that tour. So we basically where was it at? Do you remember?
Yes, Fort Myers.
So we were out at the Fort Myers, hung out for the day. We had a good time though.
There was a band called 12 Foot Ninja that she was doing
merch for, yeah.
And we're hanging out on the bus and shit, and it was the most uncomfortable because these dudes are from Australia. If you remember, they were Australian, and
I didn't even remember that. See,
well, I listened to them a couple times. Like, remember we tried to make the show. We were trying, but the traffic was brutal. Remember, we fucking, by the time we got there, they had just gotten off and we're on the tour bus. Hey, did you dig the fucking show? Yeah, man, you guys fucking ripped.
And the only reason we were there is because this girl, what was the name of do you remember the name of the festival? Because I also do not remember the name of the festival.
Yeah, it was Fort Rock.
Something like that. Yeah.
But I remember we saw Trivium played And
That's
that
right.
was the
Yeah.
first time I saw a band playing on stage with Kempers, remember? Because remember, we're standing back behind the stage and we couldn't hear no guitars. All we heard was digga 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 back, and you can hear the dude singing, and I was just like, I felt like a dog with my head turned sideways. I'm like, what the fuck? But then when we walked, remember, we went right through the gate. We had the VIP passes. We
That's
walked right out front,
yeah.
and then you hear, they're playing, and I'm just like, these dudes are fucking playing with in-ears. And I'm thinking, remember, because Creator did the same fucking thing, and I was never so mad at a band in my life because we had
That
perfect.
sounded
Remember,
rough. Yeah.
we had perfect spot for fucking Creator
Who were
because it
they
was
playing with?
packed.
Was it Midnight?
Yes, remember we played that show.
I thought
We got
Midnight
to
was
play.
killer.
I remember we were standing side stage, and I'm thinking, this is fucking awesome. We'll get to see Creator from the side. Nobody's near us because it was packed, and they were playing through Kempers with no cabinets, and you could not hear. If you weren't out front, you couldn't hear anything, and I was so fucking mad. And that's when I learned all these bands, River and Nile, they did that. They played with in-ears and fucking no cabinets, and I don't get it, dude. I mean, because if your in-ears fail, I'm going to tell you from facts. If your in-ears fail and that's how you play your music and you've got no live monitors in front of you, you are doomed. You're
Yeah.
doomed. I mean, having shitty monitors is better than having nothing, because if your in-ears go out, your battery pack dies. Anything happens, bro. The signal in the fucking club alters the signal between the pack and the fucking module. You're fucked. I mean, you're fucked 10 ways a Sunday. And I just never, I always wanted to have in-ears that worked off the board, but we always still had monitors up front just in case. You know what I mean? Because after touring Europe with that moron fucking sound guy, yeah, fuck you, dude.
You were not
I'm
not a
not a
fan
fan
of
of that
his.
cocksucker,
I was
dude.
hearing about that while you were on the tour. You were
Yeah,
not a fan of
fuck
that
that
guy.
guy. Fuck you, bro, you dirty bastard. Yeah, I it almost made me go to in-ears, and then I realized, that's, you're still dealing with technology. You know what I mean? You're still dealing with shit could go wrong. I mean, hell, I just bought these 2 trash cans, bro, that you wave your hand in front of them and they work. And the one of them stopped working after 3 days. And I'm like, fuck off, dude. I'm done. I don't need a fucking garbage can that I wave at. Technology sucks.
Did
Let's
you
just go.
see? Yeah, technology does suck, and that's why I would never trust having to rely on a laptop or I don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
dude. Bryce has one of those expensive Fold 4 Android phones. So the fucker's dropped it because he's a knucklehead. So he drops his phone so many times. I put it in an armor case. Doesn't matter, dude. He broke. So, when you open it, they can't see it, but you see you got a giant screen. You see that? And look at that Tampa Morgue fucking
there
loading
you
that logo
go.
right
That's
there,
what I
buddy.
like to see. Why was there a picture of me there? No.
Yeah, you have to zoom in to see the little dick. But anyway,
Exactly.
but when you open it like that, you see the screen, right? It's like a tablet.
Yeah.
Well, he killed that screen. He broke it. So then all he had was this. So like a regular phone, which defeats the purpose of having this phone. Well, the other day, the phone just stopped working altogether. $1,800 is what they cost brand new.
Technology.
And he's like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, couldn't tell you, brother.
Do what MOD says. Get a real job.
Yeah, well, he has a job. He just don't want to fucking spend the money. I'm like, well.
Speaking of spending money, did you see they canceled that Metal Threat show? Did you see that?
No.
And they canceled. So I guess I don't know all the details. So I don't really. It was supposed to go on October. I believe it was October. It was supposed to go on either October or November, but I think they canceled it because I want to say that people were offended by some of the bands that were on it.
And where was the show going to be held?
Illinois, I believe. You could look it up. Look up while we're on here. It's on. Look up. Let me see here. Metal Threat Fest. I was just seeing this earlier this morning that they canceled the show, and the bands that they had on there, I think they had like Horna on there, Destroyer 666, Sinister, Master was on there. Remember we talked to
yes,
to Paul about that when he was on the show.
Let's see
about that show.
Yeah, Destroyer
666 was on there because we had Dovidus on here.
Death Strike. That was the one where he was doing the 3 days where he was doing Death Strike. Yeah.
And Luctus was on there. We had Dovidus, the Lithuanian band from
Sinister was playing on there. Godly Throne,
Schizo, Aggressor. There was a bunch of bands on there.
Cenotaph, man. I haven't seen that name in a long time.
Yeah, they canceled the show. So I mean, I don't know. I think it was something to do with people. They were getting pressure from the promoter because some of the bands on there. Believe it or
Really?
not. Yeah, that's what I believe.
It says postponed.
Yeah, they
Um,
postponed it because I think they're trying to find a. I think so. I mean, let me see here if there's any details.
Here's the comment. People finally figured out that it was a fascist fest.
Oh, it's one of those deals, huh? Where they're trying to shut down all the shows, blaming bands because I know Destroyer. I love Destroyer 66. I know they get a lot of blame for some shit that I do not believe that they're involved with, or it's just I mean, I don't know.
It
I don't
says
want to
it
get it.
says it's people are saying it's because of Destroyer 666 and Horna.
Yeah, they always have that like which like I said, I saw Destroyer
I,
666 with Unleashed last year. They were great. And I don't see it, man. I just think that's the problem is that like, people were just canceling
so
people before. And
so
I'm not
we're
saying who's guilty
so
or
we're
not
still
guilty, but
we're still doing that.
they're still
That
closing down fucking shows because of this shit. Like it's like just
no,
don't
I'm saying
fucking
we're still going to decide that something might have done way back in the day when we were young idiots.
or some terminology they find offensive, they start blaming. And I'm not
Yeah,
saying hey, who knows like
well, all
what's
I'm going to
what,
tell
but
you is what is, and from being in Lithuania, for anybody who doesn't get this, there are certain ways people talk. If you ever want to know about a scam coming through your mail, look at how it's worded. Because people in Europe do not talk the way we talk in America. So when you see something worded as if it looks like somebody foreign wrote it because they don't structure sentences properly in English. Because if you ever convert a Lithuanian, if I were to take a whole structured paragraph and convert it in English, it would make no sense because
exactly, yeah. It's the
the
hardest
word
language. It's one of the hardest languages in the world.
or
I'm
any
learning it
language,
now.
even
It's
German or Italian, because the way we use the word the and is the way we structure sentence, like this is a cowboy and he rides a horse. It may be structured completely different when you flip that into Lithuanian, and it would make no sense if you flipped it back if you wrote it. You know what I'm saying? And I think some people take certain things the way they're structured and said as being disrespectful or fascist. That listen, let me tell you something. The word woke and fascist has fucking those words mean nothing anymore. Racist, the word racist, I'm sorry, you've ruined those words because now everybody's a racist, everybody's a fascist, everybody's this, everybody's that. You fucking hate women, you're a feminist. I mean, dude, what are we doing?
yeah,
Stop.
it's
You've ruined
crazy, man. They're just
everything.
I just don't get it. Like and like I said, I don't know every band what they're about. I know, music wise, I love Destroyer 666. I've seen them; they're killer. I mean, I love the records. I don't really like. I don't know if they're the reason. I know there's a couple bands. I heard there was like one or two bands. Was there? I think I want to say the venue canceled. They wanted to do something, pulled it last minute, and it kind of fucked the promoter. I don't know all the details. Maybe it'd be cool to get the promoter on and find out what really happened.
Sure.
But we don't really pay attention to a lot of that shit. But I do believe that it has something to do with that because I saw it going around either
And I
yesterday
get
or
it. If you
today.
have old songs and you've got words in your songs, you know, racist words or Nazi what propaganda in your stuff, I get it. That's a different story because you can't erase that. It's recorded, it's said. I know I was watching, we were talking earlier about doing reels for our stuff. I was watching this reel of Jackie Robinson and the guy that literally was in dodgeball that played the pirate. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
He's the coach for the other team, and he's using the N word like brutally, like telling him to go back to this and that and the other. And I'm watching the short, and I'm thinking, wow, but that's how it was. They're trying to recreate history, because that Chadwick Boseman dude was the guy that played Jackie Robinson, great actor. And what they were doing was recreating history, but they're saying you can't play this movie anymore. Well, that's how it was. That's what that's how life was. And they're showing people we're doomed if we keep repeating our history. You know what I mean? I think it's more of a teaching thing than a disrespectful thing. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, I mean, of
writing,
course, there's we know there's idiots out there who are like into that.
they're
Like,
not going
first
to.
to me, if you support Nazis, I mean, if you actually support a Nazi, you're, in my opinion, you're a moron.
Or
But
if you still think that segregation, that somebody comes into your store or your fucking neighborhood and you think that they shouldn't be there, and you start calling them slang terms,
Oh, you're a dipshit.
You're a piece of fucking dog shit who needs to. You ain't been punched in the mouth enough. I'll tell
But
you
if
that
you're
right
over
now.
there blaming bands for shit that have nothing to do with that, or just kind of speak of history or some kind of thing like that, you
think
know,
about
it's
this.
fucking
You
lame.
not only did you just put those bands out of making money, which is what they do for a living, the crew that was working the show that was going to make a living, you just cost them money. The fucking anybody who bought tickets now has to fight to get a refund if they want. You just did all over what? What's the reason? See, that's the problem I have is what's the reason you want the show canceled?
Yeah, it's just a bunch of people sticking there. If you're not going to go to the show, I mean, I could see if I don't know. Like I said, I look at that. A lot of bands on that show. I know who they are, and I don't see it, man. I don't get it.
Well, I
Like,
I mean, I could see like I saw there was this chick. She's getting absolutely roasted. She's an actress, and they were redoing Snow White, but without the prince waking her up and with no dwarves. And I said, then it's not fucking Snow White. That's
why are
not
they?
Snow White.
What do they have? They got a problem with dwarves?
Well, yeah, apparently that's bad, and the fact that the guy had
Oompa
to kiss.
Loompas better. The Oompa Loompas better run, man.
Yeah,
They're
and well,
next.
the other fact was that the man had to wake her up. You kiss her to wake her
because she
up
was fucking drugged. Or whatever.
because she was, she was drugged, and they're like, we don't need men and we don't need dwarves, and I'm like, then it's not fucking Snow White. Make a new movie, dummy.
Now, if Bill Cosby's the prince, then I understand.
Yeah,
Like, then you got to fucking draw. Like, there's that meme. You ever see that meme? It's like Bill Cosby with the pudding pop, and it says Bill Cosby loves putting his dick where what is it? Loves putting his dick where it doesn't belong, or some shit like that.
Pudding. He likes pudding, and then his 3 dots. His dick
putting
where
his dick where it doesn't belong.
Right.
Yeah. So
or
it's
pudding. Actually, it was Bill Cosby likes pudding things in women's drinks because remember he was drugging them.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty. I mean, it's a shame. When I was a kid, I'll be honest. Yeah, when I was little, I was watching fucking the Cosby Show. I mean, not the Cosby Show, but Fat Albert and shit. You know, I mean, it's.
But that's the problem is now everybody can just come out and be offended. Yeah. Everything is offensive. Everything is offensive. If it doesn't fit how I feel, then I should be able to cancel you. Well, shouldn't that be reciprocated? Because if I don't like what you're doing, but yet you don't see the reverse happening,
Well, I mean, we live coming from this. So for me, going back and forth between Eastern Europe and Florida and Tampa, you see a lot of different things. So for here, we have, without, I mean, obviously no one's going to come to my house. I'm pretty fucking far away. But where we live in Europe, we live by these old concentration camps. The Ninth Fort in Kaunas, which is like a very historical place. There's we have a lot of the history still here. We still have castles, like about 10 minutes from my house. There's the Kaunas Castle with cannonball holes in it from back in the day and shit. Like here, everything pretty much stays for the most part. Like it's pretty, when I first came here, it was pretty overwhelming driving around and seeing all these things. And, I've went to the Ninth Fort. Like when people come visit me, they want to go see the Ninth Fort. For me, like, the concentration camp's a total fucking. It's a depressing place,
Well, sure, man. My mom was fucking Polish.
Yeah, so I mean, here they got. I mean, it was a mess, but the whole. It's weird because between that and the Soviet occupation here, they've had a lot of problems here.
Right.
It's who thinks that who knew that.
But you guys aren't removing history.
No, we have the place right by my house. Like I can see from my studio, I can see the top of the monument by the Ninth Fort. And anybody can go on YouTube and look up the Ninth Fort in Kaunas, which is in Lithuania.
And it's crazy looking. I did that. And but here we're ripping down statues because they offend people. Statues that were a symbol of history. Whether the history was good or bad, it doesn't matter because it was history.
I think in New Orleans they tore down a lot of shit, man. A lot of statues and stuff.
It's ridiculous, man. It's like keep making the same mistakes and you're doomed to repeat them. You know what I mean?
It's a crazy. I mean,
it's
crazy
times, world, man. Yeah,
it's crazy fucking times.
That's why we need to start writing new music and fucking.
I mean, I tell you, like it was. There's a lot of topics to write about now. There's definitely a lot of shit because everything is really fucked up. No matter what you believe or no matter what side of the fence you're on, the news is fucking lying to you most of the time. We live in a world now. Like, who thought that, like, other countries can actually invade other countries, right? It's just crazy that these fucking people, like, just for power, all these fucking dictator. It's just disgusting, man.
Well, dude, we have the Chinese are buying farms right outside of military bases. in America. It's
It's
like,
going to be a lot of shit to
what?
write about for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of fucking
That's what I'm
shit.
saying. It's going to be, they can't destroy you from above, so they're going to destroy you from within. And that's how it works.
Yeah, it's fucking
Infiltrate
nuts,
and
man.
destroy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so we live in a
New
crazy
song title.
world. Yeah, exactly. Totally. Yeah, we live in a nuts world, but that's the way it is. And so really fast, we're gonna play one more tune. And we're gonna come back and basically there's a couple movies that are coming out, horror movies, and then I think we're gonna wrap it up because we're probably gonna try to get a show on this week. And I want to I always think to myself, and like you've done so much shit too. I want to talk to you about some of the shit you've done in your past that music shit, not your illegal shit that you've done, which you can find on YouPorn. No, but just like I mean, you've done a lot of shit that I want to talk about, that people may not realize and stuff. And it's funny because I laugh when people like I said, we have some killer bass players in Tampa and killer drummers, killer all these things. It's funny though, because one thing which we'll talk about this when we get you on, when we talk to you about some of the stuff you've done in the past. It's kind of crazy to me that like people don't relate you with your bass playing because you're a vocalist, you've fronted a lot of bands that people know, but also man, you play a killer bass, and I know you've done stuff. You obviously did the which I'll actually say this here because whoever stuck with us this long on the show can hear this bit of info. But we put out the Doom Solo record, The Gift of Eternal Sleep, like 2 months ago. And we have a cover album that we did. We recorded some covers that'll be out probably in the next few weeks. Me and guitar player Jim Ross are kind of working on that. But anybody who hasn't checked that out, it's a band called Doomsla, Doomsilla. Hope I spelled it right. Ed plays bass on actually the cover record we did, which has songs like I'll mention a few. We did a Wasp tune. We did
Venom.
We did a Venom tune cover.
Typo Negative.
Yeah, we did a Typo Negative cover actually too, which was totally opposite of what the band sounds like, which is the reason we did it.
What do you mean? We did Animals.
Yeah, we did the Animal, which was actually a song before the Animal. Someone else had written the House of the Rising Sun.
That's right.
The End from the Doors we did, which is, I mean, I thought came out really, really killer. But we'll have that out in a couple weeks.
That was talk about a pain in the fucking ass to play because it's just 8.5.
Yeah, I didn't feel bad for you on that. But yeah, I don't feel bad for you on that. But that was,
Mr. Crowley.
We did Mr. Crowley, which is actually on Gift, but it's also going to be on the cover record, which we're going to call Covered in Doom. We're actually just kind of trying to figure out the layout right now, but that'll be out before you know it. But since we're kind of Jersey, focused this episode, especially the beginning of the show, I'm going to play one more song from a Jersey demo because, like Ed said, we both grew up there. Ed kind of got out of there while I was still there. So this band, Ed probably might not know. And there's been a bunch of Resurrections. The band's name is Resurrection. There's been, obviously we had the Florida one, which we talk about sometimes on this show. But this was a band from Fort Lee, New Jersey. They formed in 88, but this was from a 91 demo. They did 2 demos. And this is a band, called Resurrection. And we're going to play one of these tracks on here. And then let me see what we're going to play here. This is why you have to be more prepared than I am. Let me see here. Ed, do you remember, while I'm making sure what song we're going to play, do you remember, well, you remember Florida's Resurrection, but do you remember Jersey's Resurrection?
I do, because I remember Resurrection for a while. I had to put FL, to make sure people knew they were from Florida.
Yeah, what do you think about that when all the bands come up with the same, like, isn't it, like, back then I kind of, it's like, how many bands have this?
It happened to us before the internet, man. We, the early days before I joined Eulogy, I had a band and we called ourselves Disgorge, only to find out that there was another band, Jason, Jason Avery, Monstrosity Eulogy, came over and said, "Hey dude, just found out there's another band called Disgorge." So he fucking looked up the definition and he called it says to not eat, disgorge to. So he called us uneat for, he would come over and just call us uneat. So yeah, I remember every name we picked, dude. It was like, and that was back before there was a million bands, but you didn't think of a million words back then. You went with the crazy kind of, Resurrection or we had, because there were bands already called Burial. We had a band.
There's some bands that have there's like 15 bands with the same fucking name. It's crazy.
Yeah, we had Burial, we had a bunch of bands that just put out demos, and it was just like, fuck, man, can we just find a name? And it just never happened. I mean, because Eulogy, think about that. That's a great fucking name, man.
Yeah.
Ripping Corpse. That's a great fucking name.
Well,
You
look
look
at
at these.
Acid Bath. People don't, Acid Bath, which is a great name. There was a band from New Orleans called Acid Bath before Acid Bath, but I think they actually got permission to call it Acid Bath because there was actually before, with Dax Riggs and Sammy and
Mhm.
Audie and all those guys. There was actually, an Acid Bath before that.
Yeah, because I remember there was a band called a bigger band that was called Epitaph, but we had a local band that called Epitaph, and it was like, well, back then, if you didn't
Yeah,
have a
Mark
record,
Good played with them, didn't he? He played with
correct?
us in
He did.
Generic Christ at one
He
point.
did.
Yeah, Mark Good played with Epitaph. That's right. I don't know what's up with Mark now. I know I think he's back in Florida, but well, this band's called Resurrection, and they're from Fort Lee. We're gonna play. Let me see here. Let's play. This is the night. Let me see here. We're gonna play a song called After Death from. We're gonna play it off the '91 demo, actually, which is Demo 2. They titled it as. And let me see here. And you had Dean Embrich on drums, Dave Papalardo on bass, Pat Raw on guitars, and Paul Bapakin, which hopefully I'm not butchering that, on vocals and guitars. But this is a band from Fort Lee, New Jersey, called Resurrection. And this is the tune After Death. And we'll be right back on the Tampa Morgue right after this song to wrap up the show and say goodbye and all that good stuff. Here you go. This is Resurrection off the 1991 Demo 2. And we are back on the Tampa Morgue from Fort Lee, New Jersey. That was Resurrection from the 1991 Demo 2, song called After Death.
Yeah, I just remembered another band that I used to listen to religiously from New Jersey. Fucking Blood Feast, bro.
Oh, Blood Feast, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
man.
lot of, like you said, Whiplash earlier too.
Yeah, man, Whiplash,
Revenant,
but
Ripping Corpse,
Blood
North
Feast,
Winds.
That fucking, that Kill for Pleasure record, man. Boy, I wore the fuck that song Cannibal. Dude, I mean, I just wore that fucking song because it was just, the lyrics were just, as a kid or a younger guy, you can't see, you fall in the sand, you struggle for life, but you are damned. There's no.
I haven't heard that in a while. I need to listen to that. I have that here.
You're right on your heels. Your life's almost over, and that is the deal. I mean, I was just like, cannibals are coming for you. They will hunt you down, drooling all over themselves, making all grunting sounds. I mean, that stuck in my head. I haven't heard that song in, I couldn't tell you how long, but just the fact that you say the song, it's those lyrics, it was great because even the music, they were just a great New Jersey band. They're still around. They're still around, and
they're a great band. I mean, Jersey had, that's the thing about it. You could do we only just covered a couple demos, like tonight, like just picked a few things off the whatever, but like there's a lot of Jersey bands.
Oh yeah. God Forbid, I think, was from Jersey.
Yeah, they were from Jersey too. Like we said, Danzig, you had from, you had
obviously the Misfits.
The Misfits, yeah. What was some? There was some other. What was it? Fallacy. We remember.
Yep.
There was a band from Tom's River, Delirium Tremens, which is funny because that's actually the name of one of the albums from Narcotic Wasteland that we just had on. But there was a band from Tom's River, Cypress. Cypress was actually Oblivion. I think Cypress, the band that we opened up the show with that Rabid Bestial song that we played from the 85 demo in the beginning of the show, a Tom's River band. Do you remember Cypress? That was actually the same band, but I think they changed the name during like some temporary breakup of Oblivion or something like that. But all those guys,
the other bands we grew up with, I think Twisted Sister was from Jersey.
Yeah,
right?
Jersey, yeah.
And
Jersey
Skid Row,
too.
obviously, we were big Skid Row fans. I mean,
Skid Row,
afraid to
those
say
guys in there.
God, what the hell is that one band? Dillinger Escape Plan. They're from fucking Jersey.
I've already mentioned Monster Magnet. I'm sure, like I said, is because I mean I think Monster Magnet. It's funny because and like I said, we're pretty fucking diverse on this show. Like we do, this show is pretty much, it's about a lot of heavy music because that's what we have done our whole lives and grew up listening to. But we also, I think Monster Magnet is just a
huge,
awesome band, man.
Yeah,
great
man.
Band.
Do you remember
Dave's
Gothic
Killer.
Slam?
Yeah, Gothic Slam, Social Decay out of Island Heights, which
Human
actually
Remains. I remember
TFN,
Human Remains were a big band. Yeah, there's so many of them, dude, that we just that we listen to. You don't realize where they're from, but I remembered Blood Feast, and I was like, man, that was just one you have to mention because they're up there with that old school Whiplash. Like, to me, Whiplash, I remember they played the Cruise, and we played at 3 a.m, and I got my ass up to see them. They were playing the pool deck at 10 a.m. and I got I got my ass up to go see them because I'm like, it had been, I don't even know at that point if I had seen Whiplash before because they were playing, they weren't playing, they were playing, they weren't playing. They hadn't put any records out. Remember, they had the singer that they added for that one Insult to Injury. They added the singer, which I thought that record was great. And then they got rid of him and went back to a 3-piece with
Tony.
Yep.
It's all Tonys.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, listen, we grew up in a great time. We grew up in a great place. It's a nice place to visit, but wouldn't want to live there, kind of thing.
Yeah, taxes are crazy, I heard, and we have listeners from there. We always, like I said, we appreciate all our listeners, but I know we have some guys I know personally from there and stuff. It's if you grow up there, it's kind of like it's a certain thing. You just got a certain.
And some people will never leave. My uncle, my grandmother passed away. Obviously, my mom's gone. Aside from his brother, I think that still lives there, who was the mayor at one point. I'm like, why don't you come down here and live?
If it's for the pizza, I understand because they do have the best pizza in Jersey. I told him, I said,
dude, sell the house and you can live fucking in luxury out your days. And he's like, yeah, I don't know, dude. This is my thing. And
it was hard for me to leave Jersey, man. It was tough. I mean, now it's, obviously it's been many years. And when I went back there the last time, like I had said, I definitely like didn't feel at home anymore totally, so, but
I'm
there's a
going
certain
to
thing.
on my bucket list. I have never visited my old house. Like when we went through tour, we just drove by, like drove through New Jersey,
Yeah.
and I remember places I saw and I remember. But there is a point where I'm like, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to just I'm not going to go specifically to hang out in New Jersey for days, but I'm going to make it a point to you know fucking revisit, look at, just because I want to say I was able to do it one more time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, no,
Um,
yeah, it's sad that we're getting to that point in life where it's like, fucking, I think about that too. I'm like, man, it's what everything's kind of like, now you got to think a little bit. We're getting up there where you got to like, I'm in my later 40s, which sucks to say, and you're a little bit above me, but now you think like that because, like we always say, you sign on online, man, and another dude is dropped like a fly. It sucks. It's a
well,
total
for me,
bummer.
just I always was like, man, I'm lucky, man. My parents were married. I never had a step anything because my parents were married. Would have been 53 years this month, 53 years, and
It's crazy.
I was lucky to have them. As long as I did. I mean, they lived to their late 70s, but you always think, man, they're going to be around. They're
Yeah.
fucking, because my grandmother lived to 80, 89, 90. Almost. So I'm like, oh, they're gonna be around, man. This is fucking awesome.
I try to talk to
And
my family every day. It's hard, I mean, because things get a little as people get older, it gets a
dicey.
little tougher. But yeah, but I mean, I try. It's and like what, especially with what happened to you in the last year or so. Like what you've kind of seen what happened with your parents and stuff, and
Hmm.
just out of nowhere. I mean, it's just like all
It
of us.
altered it kind of because you're so. For me, I was in a comfort zone because they were here,
Yeah,
and now they're gone, and it flipped me mentally. I realized because I'm not young. I'm not like a 7-year-old kid who lost his parents,
yeah,
but when one goes and you're like, holy shit, yeah, she was kind of sick. I get it. She's not in pain. Okay. Then you're having Thanksgiving dinner, and the next day your sister's calling you, telling you your dad just fucking went, just basically had a fucking heart attack out of nowhere. And you were just fucking having a great time the day. It just, and they're literally 6-7 months apart from, you know,
yeah.
when the other one passed. It just fucking like, you're like, your whole world gets upended.
Yeah, I
Um,
just lost my. Actually, this week I told you I know, but
yeah.
like, and I've talked about him on this show actually in the past. My uncle Matt passed away last week, and I have as a child I have a lot of memories, which like I said, I know I've talked about on this podcast that he passed away. He was only 10 years older than me, which is a slap in the face because it felt like he was so much older when I was little. But he passed away this week, and he was the guy who I would go down in his basement. Man, he had his whole wall was painted like Pink Floyd the wall, and he had all these 8 tracks. He had all the Sabbath 8 tracks, Kiss 8 tracks. And the first time I probably really remember, I went into his shed as a little kid, and he had the big Kiss poster in there. And I think when I first saw it, I was like, "What the fuck is this? Like, what are these dudes
You told
wearing?"
me
Like,
they
it kind of
scared
freaked
you.
me out. Yeah, it kind of freaked me out when I was a little kid. He passed away last week, and we hadn't talked for a couple years, man. And it's kind of, it's a reality check that like you gotta, as we always say on this show, life's a bitch, and you gotta make sure that you keep in touch with those you care about because before you know it, as Ed found out, unfortunately, Ed was on tour losing people. It's fucking insane. Um,
Well, I
you
lost my
know,
dog on tour.
yeah, you
That
lost your dog on
that was right
tour.
after my mom, and I was just like, man,
Talk
really?
about kicking the balls constantly. Yeah, it's been but it's reality, man. So if anybody listens to this show, always reach out to especially your parents and anybody else because you just never know. And yeah, Ugh. But not to bring, it's the way life goes, unfortunately. But Ed, so I'm going to mention before we, and whoever stuck with us tonight, we really appreciate it. We've done a 2-hour show of just kind of reminiscing about
Stupidness.
about the Garden State and stuff, and just some other random bullshit. But I am going to announce there's a couple movies that are coming out in the next week or two that we try to sometimes bring up movies on here. We're horror movie fans, just more movie fans in general. But Ed, I think this one actually looks pretty good. I've heard really good reviews about it, and you might want to check it out. It's in the theaters starting the 5th today. Franchise started in 1976, obviously, but the first Omen was
I saw that.
Was directed and co-written by Arkasha Stevenson. I hope I'm saying her name right. It's her first, her featured directorial film, I think. She worked in TV before and stuff, but I watched the trailer. I've watched some things about it, and actually, people are saying it's actually a pretty damn good movie. So there's that. That's open today in theaters. April 12th, there's a movie called Sting, which is directed by you remember the Wormwood?
Mm-hmm.
Kaya Roach Turner, I want to say is Roach. I mean, I'm hoping I'm saying his name right. And that one's kind of like basically like this 12-year-old girl who secretly raises this tiny spider, basically, and winds up being like a killing machine, like killing pets and people.
Crazy.
Yeah, and like the girl's name in it is Charlotte, which I'm sure has some kind of like Charlotte's Web tie. But that comes out on the 12th, and then April 19th, there's a movie. What was I seeing? I was watching some stuff today for The Night of the Harvest, which is directed and written by Ryan Calloway. It's a follow-up to Stay Out of the Basement, and that comes out in the theaters on April 19th. And I'm going to try to start doing the movies more because we're going to have to start getting some actors back on here again and some producers and stuff and directors. That's what we want to also incorporate in this show.
And not that it's a horror movie, but I will tell you that I've seen several trailers. The new Godzilla King Kong movie fucking looks absolutely smoking. And I'll tell you, there's a series, man. If you're into any of that Godzilla shit, dude, go. Apple TV has a series on it. It's what's it called? The Monolith, or something of monsters.
But Monolith Death Cult?
No, it's basically fucking. It goes through the whole Godzilla timeline from dude. It is done. Kurt Russell is the young scientist, and it leads all the way up to like John Goodman in the newest ones, and his son plays Kurt Russell current time, or Kurt Russell's son plays the younger version of Kurt Russell, and dude, you could not tell the two of them apart. Like it's crazy, dude.
Have you seen? Russell, it's funny you say that because I was just talking to my wife about this. So my kids we had a lot of Willy Wonka references in this show tonight, but we were talking about the Oompa Loompas earlier. But you've seen Shameless, right?
Yeah.
Does that kid lips look exactly like Gene Wilder?
Yes, kind of.
I mean, dude, pull up. Whenever anybody listens to the show, if you get a chance, pull up the compare. I mean, it's
I know who you're talking
unbelievable, man. Like, and I think Gene Wilder was fucking amazing and just a great actor. Just one of those guys that, to me, is like, just I don't know how you just a great, like a legendary dude. But man, those two look exactly alike. Me and my wife were just talking about that. But yeah,
that dude. So that dude right there, he's been in a couple different. He was just in that new wrestling movie.
The one from Shameless?
Iron Claw. Yeah, he was one of the brothers.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I can't remember his name. I have it on the tip of my tongue.
Jeremy Allen White.
Okay, yeah, he looks exactly like Gene Wilder. Like if there's going to be a movie about Gene Wilder one day, they need to get this kid to like play him at that age when he's coming up because, man, I'm telling you. But yeah, man, Ed, is there anything else? I mean, I think we've covered. I think we've talked everyone's ear off for a pretty decent amount tonight. For the weekend, we figured we'd get a show in. Like I said, so Sunday, April 14th, we have Jamie Bailey from Bada Quinn coming on. If you haven't heard their new record, like I said, Harbinger of War is just fucking awesome. They're from Knoxville, Tennessee. He'll be on here. And then Harry from Hooded Menace and Hail Conjurer and Horse Latitudes will be on here on April 22nd. So we're going to try to do a show, I think, before we bring Jamie on Sunday. So we'll play it by ear, Yeah, and as always, I just want to say, I was telling somebody today, I said, man, it's amazing to me. A lot of people are going back and listening to the issues.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, and
Crazy.
it's really crazy how it's starting to pick up. And we really, we don't do video, so like our YouTube's not very like. If anybody can, by the way, go subscribe to our YouTube for us. Like, we have video, not videos. We have the audio up there if needed. It's obviously we don't have video, so it's not like killing it. But on our streaming sites, on Spotify and all the other stuff, man, we are really. It's been picking up a lot, and it's been crazy how people have been going back and checking out old episodes. And we have a lot of old episodes to check out. And, this is our 37th episode, as, we mentioned in the beginning.
In a row?
In a row. Yeah, exactly. And we just, we appreciate everybody who listens. We started doing this. I'm kind of amazed we're at 37 episodes already,
I agree.
But we've had,
it's been fun, dude. And we've had some killer people on, man.
Yeah, so we've had, so we had, let me see here before we had Pat from Hell Witch, obviously, which was episode 4, which was back in August, which, like I said, all of our episodes, you can listen to them now. They're still current because it's all, basically liner notes. Our shows are a lot of information. We had Vincent Crowley on episode 6. Vincent was great, from Vincent Crowley Band and Asheron and, Nocturnus. You had Bobby G from Overkill. Satan's Taint was on episode 8. Who else do we have? Lord Aramon, episode 10 from Dark Funeral. Wolf and Society. Josh Jones from, obviously we mentioned VNC Collectibles. Grave Rot, he was on episode 11. David from Fathom was on episode 12, which was, October. We had Blaine Cook from The Accused, which, if you're an Accused fan, like, that's a killer episode.
That was a great episode, man. I don't know why that didn't pick up steam, dude, because that guy's fucking awesome.
Episode 13, that was. David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown, was on for like almost 3 hours, I believe, or 2 or 3 hours. That was episode 14. We had Andy Howe from Burned at the Stake. He's also has a tattoo shop. He's also a member of the Church of Satan. He's got a bunch of shit going on. We had David Austin from Nasty Savage, episode 18. To me, that was a killer episode too. A lot of history there, a lot of like cool stories. John Gallagher of Raven, who was fucking another guy who was awesome. We had him on episode 19. Episode 20, we had Big Ed, who's from Jersey, another Atlantic City, used to be and I tell you, with this guy, he makes horror indie films. He's part of this, put out some films. But he was a security guard in Atlantic City, and his security guard stories are great. Like,
oh, dude, they were fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you hear some shit about some people that you wouldn't surprise you, I guess, but some great stories from Ed. That was episode 20, and then we had Bill Owen from Purgatory. That was episode 21. Count Gore Duvall, Creature Feature, episode 22 was an episode I really, that one we did for ourselves totally. It was a great episode. Back in the old, talk about a guy who was Bozo the Clown back in the day.
Yep.
Paul from Master, episode 23, another great episode, I thought. Alvar from Reaper Mancer, Cunt Knuckles, Jekatador, if I'm saying it right. Dovidus from Luctus and Crypts of Despair, Cold Embrace, and Lithuanian band, which I do eventually want to bring some more Lithuanian bands on here since I'm living here part-time. Carl Kennedy from the Rods. He, another guy who just put out a book, actually. So we'll get him on once I get the book and go over it a little bit.
Great interview.
Yeah, great interview. Carl's great. I spoke to him probably 3 weeks ago. Guy's just a really nice guy, cool guy, has a hell of a history. Jim and Pat from Morbid Saint, we had on here episode 29. Dawn of the Dead, episode 31. Nunslaughter fans, that is, to me, it's pretty much everything about Nunslaughter, and it's a couple hours. That was another 3-hour interview. We talked to him for 5 hours that night. Dave from Mortis Gold, obviously, who just got back on tour with Malevolent Creation. We had him on for a while. He was another one, a lot of Mortis Gold history, very cool guy. Kyle Thomas from X-Order, another good one, man. A lot of the stuff we talked about on that one. Snowy Shaw, of course, which was Snowy's a very interesting guy. And if you're a fan of King Diamond, Merciful Fate, Dimmu, Notre Dame, anything to do with Snowy Shaw, it's, even if the episode is worth listening to because there's just so much stuff we talked about on that. Yeah.
Yep.
Dallas, we talked about from Narcotic Wasteland, Nile, episode 36. And here we are at number 37. And there's some episodes in between there of just me and Ed bullshitting like this one. So, Ed, where can they find us?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify. You can search us out on Instagram. We do have a Facebook. It sucks, but we have one.
Yeah, we don't pay for the ads.
thetampamorgue at gmail.com. If you want to send questions like sometimes Tony gets, and we try to
Yeah,
answer.
and actually, next episode I have a page of questions here, and I will read them next episode because we kind of going off on the Jersey thing.
We did.
Yeah, so we will hop on that next episode, and as I say that, I see the kids are home and the wife. So
perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Yeah. So, Ed, anything else?
Nope. I'm going to not spend any more money on my house for a little bit.
Well, there you go. We could talk about that next episode too. We can find out what makes angry Ed tick. There's a lot of things, a lot of shit.
Shit.
A lot of shit.
Yeah.
We thank everybody who listens. Like we said, thank you for listening to this episode. I know it was a lot of random, just bullshit. We appreciate everybody, and definitely, like I said, check us out on YouTube. Subscribe. Give us 5 stars on whatever Spotify, whatever the fuck you listen to us on. Send us messages, which is totally cool. We'll read them on the phone, and family's home, so I'm going to bail, and hopefully you have a chicken pox free house this week.
Absolutely. Good luck with that.
Thanks, man, and everybody, we appreciate you. Like we always say, thanks for listening to the Tampa Morgue. We'll be back with got some guests coming up and a bunch of other shit. So check us out. Check us out on Instagram. We are there. You can get a hold of us on there pretty easy. So thanks again, Ed. I'll see you next time.
See ya.
Peace.